Stage managers are attending to our friends who happen to be the moderators of tonight's debate.
She'll be here in a moment.
5 of them, 10 candidates. I think we've got everything handled on stage.
So if I'm too loud or if the TV's too loud or if you can't hear the TV.
Are these nerve-wracking though, Claire? I mean, these minutes where everyone's talking about your, I don't know, your final preparations.
You really don't want to make small talk.
Right.
People
you want to think, right?
You know, first of all, it gets you kind of out of your head where you need to be. You need to be focused on how you're going to be stronger than all of them. So talking about, and it's all awkward conversation. They are trying to look friendly. They don't feel that friendly.
A reminder.
We love our
A reminder to our audience that at the conclusion of this debate, our team comes back on from this studio for 2 hours of live post-debate coverage. Obviously, we will take a look back at all the substance, all the style, any of the moments that become moments over the broadcast we are about to watch. I've been assured this camera will be secured by the time we go live. So we're within 10 seconds. The first Democratic debate of the 2020 cycle. We'll let the moderators in the room take over.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lester Holt, and welcome to the first Democratic debate in the 2020 race for president.
Hi, I'm Savannah Guthrie, and tonight it's our first chance to see these candidates go head-to-head on stage together. We'll be joined in our questioning tonight by our colleagues, Jose Diaz-Balart, Chuck Todd, and Rachel Maddow.
Voters are trying to nail down where the candidates stand on the issues. What sets them apart?
Okay, thanks for that. I'm going to turn this down. Herman, is that better? In terms of level,
New Jersey Senator Cory Booker, former Housing Secretary Julian Castro,
my center square is sexism also.
Former Maryland Congressman John Delaney, Hawaii Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, Washington Governor Jay Inslee, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, former Texas Congressman Beto O'Rourke.
Guys, keep me updated on levels. I turned down the debate level, so if you need it up or if you need me up or down, let me know. Hard to tell what the level should be. Yeah, by the way, Ugg Maddow, I had this stupid MSNBC on in the background today, and because I never had MSNBC, she's just boring. She's incredibly boring. Here we go.
across the country. Tonight, we're going to take on many of the most pressing issues of the moment, including immigration, the situation unfolding at our border, and the treatment of migrant children.
And we're going to talk about the tensions with Iran, climate change, and of course, we'll talk about the economy, those kitchen table issues so many Americans face every day.
And some quick rules of the road before we begin. 20 candidates qualified for this first debate. We'll hear from 10 tonight and 10 more tomorrow. The breakdown for each was selected at random. The candidates will have 60 seconds to answer and 30 seconds for any follow-ups.
Because of this large field, not every person will be able to comment on every topic, but over the course of the next 2 hours, we will hear from everyone. We'd also like to ask the audience to keep the reactions to a minimum. We are not going to be shy about making sure the candidates stick to time tonight.
All right, so with that business out of the way, we want to get to it. And we'll start this evening with Senator Elizabeth Warren. Senator, good evening to you.
Thank you.
You have many plans. Free college, free childcare, government health care, cancellation of student debt, new taxes, new regulations, the breakup of major corporations. But this comes at a time when 71% of Americans say the economy is doing well, including 60% of Democrats. What do you say to those who worry this kind of significant change could be risky to the economy?
So I think of it this way. Who is this economy really working for? It's doing great for a thinner and thinner slice at the top. It's doing great for giant drug companies. It's just not doing great for people who are trying to get a prescription filled. It's doing great for people who want to invest in private prisons, just not for the African Americans and Latinx whose families are torn apart, whose lives are destroyed, and whose communities are ruined. It's doing great for giant oil companies that want to drill everywhere, just not for the rest of us who are watching climate change bear down upon us. When you've got a government, when you've got an economy that does great for those with money and isn't doing great for everyone else, that is corruption, pure and simple. We need to call it out. We need to attack it head on, and we need to make structural change in our government, in our economy, and in our country.
Senator Klobuchar, you called programs like free college something you might do if you were, quote, a magic genie. To be blunt, are the government programs and benefits that some of your rivals are offering giving your voters, people, a false sense of what's actually achievable?
Well, first, the economy. We know that not everyone is sharing in this prosperity, and Donald Trump just sits in the White House and gloats about what's going on when you have so many people that are having trouble affording college and having trouble affording their premiums. So I do get concerned about paying for college for rich kids. I do. But I think my plan is a good one. And my plan would be to, first of all, make community college free. And make sure that everyone else besides that top percentile gets help with their education. My own dad and my sister got their first degrees with community college. There's many paths to success, as well as certifications. Secondly, I'd use Pell Grants. I'd double them from $6,000 to $12,000 a year and expand it to the number of families that get covered, to families that make up to $100,000.
Who is this woman?
Is make it easier for students to pay off their student loans. Because I can tell you this, if billionaires can pay off their yachts, students should be able to pay off their student loans.
That's time. Thank you. Congressman O'Rourke, what we've just been discussing and talking about is how much of the economy is desirable and how much is actually doable. In that vein, some Democrats want a marginal individual tax rate of 70% on the very highest earners, those making more than $10 million a year. 70%? Would you support that? And if not, what would your top individual rate be?
Yeah, we're not socialist.
This economy has got to work for everyone. And right now we know that it isn't. And it's going to take all of us coming together to make sure that it does. Necesitamos incluir cada persona en el
we forgot about virtue signaling by speaking Spanish.
Pero si queremos hacer
Spanish, we just
cada persona en nuestra democracia. Cada votante necesitamos la representación y cada voz necesitamos escuchar. Right now, we have a system that favors those who can pay for access and outcomes. That's how you explain an economy that is rigged to corporations and to the very wealthiest. A $2 trillion tax cut that favored corporations while they were sitting on record piles of cash, and the very wealthiest in this country at a time of historic wealth inequality. A new democracy that is revived because we return power to the people, no PACs, no gerrymandering, automatic and same-day voter registration to bring in more voters, and a new Voting Rights Act to get rid of the barriers that are in place now. That's how we each have a voice in our democracy and make this economy work for everybody.
That's time, sir. I'll give you 10 seconds to answer. If you want to answer the direct question, would you support a 70% individual marginal tax rate? Yes, no, or pass?
I would support a tax rate.
He didn't answer the question because
answer the question.
The same
never answered the
tax
question.
ordinary income. Take that corporate tax rate up to 28%. You would generate the revenues you need to
Still
pay
not
for the
answering.
programs we're talking about.
That's time. Thank you. Senator Booker, there is a debate in this party right now about the role of corporations, as you know.
That's
Senator
Spartacus,
Warren, in
guys.
particular, put out a plan to break up tech companies like Facebook, Amazon, and Google. You've said we should not, quote, be running around pointing at companies and breaking them up without any kind of process. Why do you disagree?
I don't think I disagree. I think we have a serious problem in our country with corporate consolidation. And you see the evidence of that in how dignity is being stripped from labor. And we have people that work full-time jobs and still can't make a living wage. We see that because consumer prices are being raised by pharmaceutical companies that often have monopolistic holds on drugs. And you see that by just the fact that this is actually an economy that's hurting small businesses and not allowing them to compete. One of the most aggressive bills in the Senate to deal with corporate consolidation is mine about corporate consolidation in the ag sector. So I feel very strongly about the need to check the corporate consolidation and let the free market work. And I'll tell you this, I live in a low-income Black and brown community. I see every single day that this economy is not working for average Americans. The indicators that are being used from GDP to Wall Street's rankings is not helping people in my community. It is about time that we have an economy that works for everybody, not just the wealthiest in our nation.
But quickly, Senator Booker, you did say that you didn't think it was right to name names, to name companies and single them out, as Senator Warren has. Briefly, why is that?
Can you hear me now?
We'll single out companies like
I was saying I don't mind what he's saying here. I do think dignity has been stripped from labor.
When it comes to antitrust law, what I will do is, number one, appoint judges that will enforce it. Number two, have a DOJ and a Federal Trade Commission that will go through the processes necessary to check this kind of corporate concentration. At the end of the day, we have too much of a problem with corporate power growing. We see that with everything from Citizens United and the way they're trying to influence Washington. It's about time that we have a president that fights for the people in this country who need to have someone that's a champion for them.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Warren, I mentioned you. Are you picking winners and losers?
So the way I understand this is there is way too much consolidation now in giant industries in this country. That hurts workers, it hurts small businesses, it hurts independent farmers, it hurts our economy overall, and it helps constrict real innovation and growth in this economy. Now look, we've had the laws out there for a long time to be able to fight back. What's been missing is courage. Courage in Washington to take on the giants. That's part of the corruption in this system. It has been far too long that the monopolies have been making the campaign contributions, have been.
By the way, can I just say before we get to it, I forgot to put Russia on the bingo card, and Russia should really be here. So if you guys want to pick any square you want to and turn it into Russia.
This is I want to return government to the people, and that means calling out the names of the monopolists and saying I have the courage to go after them.
That's Biden.
Thank you.
Secretary Castro, the next question is for you. Democrats have been talking about the pay gap for decades. What would you do to ensure that women are paid fairly in this country?
Thank you very much for that question, Lester. You know, I grew
So the
up
implication is that they're not paid fairly.
with a mother who raised my brother Joaquin and me as a single parent. And I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to rent a home and to worry about whether you're going to be able to pay the rent at the first of the month. And to see a mom work very, very hard and know that moms across this country are getting paid less simply because they're women. I would do several things, starting with something we should have done a long time ago.
That is absolute crap. Because they're women, they get paid less? No. Can we Can we mark off the sexism?
Paid for equal work in this country. It's past time that we did that. And, we have to do this. If we want to be the most prosperous nation in the 21st century, we need to make sure that women are paid what they deserve.
All right, thank you. I want to put the same question to Congresswoman Gabbard. Your thoughts on equal pay?
No, first of all, let's recognize the situation we're in, that the American people deserve a president who will put your interests ahead of the rich and powerful. That's not what we have right now. I enlisted in the Army National Guard after the Al-Qaeda terror attacks on 9/11, so I could go after those who had attacked us on that day. I still serve as a major. Served over 16 years, deployed twice to the Middle East, and in Congress served.
She's a bit of a badass, you have to admit. I kind of really like her.
I know the importance of our national security, as well as the terribly high cost of war. And for too long, our leaders have failed us, taking us from one regime change war to the next, leading us into a new Cold War and arms race, costing us trillions of our hard-earned taxpayer dollars and countless lives. This insanity must end. As president, I will take your hard-earned taxpayer dollars and instead invest those dollars into serving your needs. Things like healthcare, a green economy, good paying jobs, protecting our environment, and so much more.
Mayor de Blasio, good evening. You're the mayor of the biggest city in the United States, but it's also one of the cities in the country with the greatest gap between the wealthy and the poor. How would you address income inequality?
Well, we've been addressing income inequality in New York City by raising wages, by raising benefits, by putting money back in the hands of working people, $15 minimum wage, paid sick days, pre-K for all, things that are making a huge difference in working people's lives.
By the way,
let me tell you what we're hearing here already in the first round of questions is that battle for the heart and soul of our party. I want to make it clear. This is supposed to be the party of working people. Yes, we're supposed to be for 70% tax rate on the wealthy. Yes, we're supposed to be for free college, free public college for our young people. We are supposed to break up big corporations when they're not serving our democracy. This Democratic Party has to be strong and bold and progressive. And in New York, we've proven
corporations
that we can do something very different. We can put money back in the hands of working people. And let me tell you, every time you talk about investing in people and their communities, you hear folks say there's not enough money. What I say to them every single time is there's plenty of money in this world. There's plenty of money in this country. It's just in the wrong hands. We Democrats have to fix that.
Congressman Delaney, do you agree?
I think we need to do real things to help American workers and the American people. Right? This is the issue that all of us here on the campaign trail. We need to make sure everyone has a living wage. And I've called for a doubling of the earned income tax credit, raising the minimum wage, and creating paid family leave. That will create a situation where people actually have a living wage. That gets right to workers. Then we got to fix our public education system. It's not delivering the results our kids need, nor is college and post-high school career and technical training programs doing that. You know, I'm very different than everyone else here on the stage. Prior to being in Congress, I was an entrepreneur. I started 2 businesses. I created thousands of jobs. I spent my whole career helping small to mid-sized businesses all over the country. 5,000 of them I supported. The Obama administration gave me an award for lending to disadvantaged.
So I like that. I know who this is. It's C. Brown in the comments says, I'm bored now. Come back to beta so we can laugh.
This guy's super boring. By the way, is this slightly better on my audio, or is it still crappy here?
Oh, that's much better on your audio for me anyway to hear you.
Okay, Herman's been helping me out.
Well,
I just couldn't figure out how to do
I
anything.
think plans are great, but
I also really like that people in the comments are like, it's time for a hot president.
Unions maybe are going to.
This guy, Jay Inslee, he's like just all about the environment. He doesn't care about anything. It's all climate change, climate change, climate change.
Collective bargaining, so we can increase wages finally. I marched with the OCIU folks. It is not right that the CEO of McDonald's makes 2,100 times more than the people slinging hash at McDonald's. And the next thing I'll do is put people to work in the jobs of the present and the future. Look,
it's not right that the
Donald
CEO
Trump
makes
is simply wrong. He says wind turbines cause cancer. We know they cause jobs. And we
people
know
outside of a company saying what's right and wrong about who gets paid what in the company.
Jobs of the future.
None of their business.
IBW's
That's what shareholders reported for.
We're doing it in my state today.
And then we can do what America
The flag
always
in his
does.
eight.
Lead the world
Yeah, totally
and
it
invent
is.
the future and put people to work. That's what we're going to do.
Congressman Ryan, President Trump, and you just referred to him, promised that manufacturing jobs were all coming back to places like your home state of
Yeah, this
Ohio.
guy's Tim whatever.
Can you make
He's
that
super
same promise?
big into manufacturing.
Yes, I believe you can. But first, let's say the president came. He said, don't sell your house to people in Youngstown, Ohio. And in his administration, just in the last 2 years, we lost $4,000 jobs at a General Motors facility. That rippled throughout our community. General Motors
seriously,
got a
Omar,
tax
I'm
cut.
not getting my bingo
General
sucked.
Motors got a bailout. And then they have the audacity to move a new car that they're going to produce to Mexico. I've had family members that have to unbolt a machine from the factory floor, put it in a box, and ship it to China. My area where I come from in Northeast Ohio, this issue we're talking about here, it's been going on 40 years. This is not a new phenomenon in the United States of America.
Labor's
The
cheaper
bottom
elsewhere.
60% haven't
car,
seen a
that's what you
raise
do.
since 1980. Meanwhile, the top 1% control 90% of the wealth. We need an industrial
Unrelated.
policy saying we're going to dominate building electric vehicles. There's going to be 30 million made in the next 10 years. I want
This
half
guy's-
of them made in the
this
United
guy is
States. I want to
cisgender
dominate
and
the solar
heteronormative.
industry and
Yeah.
manufacture
Yeah,
those
he's a
here.
problem.
Senator Warren, are they coming back?
One of my favorite tweets about the debates was that it's just going to descend into who's the bigger racist, who's the bigger sexist, or the biggest homophobe.
Giant corporations have exactly one loyalty, and that is to profits. And if they can save a nickel by moving a job to Mexico or to Asia or to Canada, they're going to do it. So here's what I propose for an industrial policy. Start with a place where there's a real need. There's going to be a worldwide need for green technology, ways to clean up the air, ways to clean up the water. And we can be the ones to provide that. We need to go tenfold in our research and development on green energy going forward. And then we need to say, any corporation can come and use that research. They can make all kinds of products from it, but they have to be manufactured right here in the United States of America. And then we have to double down and sell it around the world. There's a $23 trillion market coming for green products. We should be the leaders and the owners, and we should have that 1.2 million manufacturing jobs here in America. We can do this.
All right, we're going to turn to the issue of healthcare right now. I really try to understand
Healthcare,
whether there
okay.
may not be daylight
It's a right.
between you. Many people
Someone's gonna say
watching
it,
at
I'm gonna
home have health insurance
extra
coverage
phenomenal.
through their employer. Who here would abolish their private health insurance in favor of a government-run plan? Just a show of hands, start off with.
Okay, so two people, Elizabeth Warren and I have to get
Senator Klobuchar, let me put the question to you. You're one of the Democrats who wants to keep private insurance in addition to a government health care plan. Why is an incremental approach, in your view, better than a sweeping overhaul?
Well, I think it's a bold approach. It's something that Barack Obama wanted to do when we were working on the Affordable Care Act, and that is a public option. I am just simply concerned about kicking half of America off of their health insurance in 4 years, which is exactly what this bill says.
Klobuchar is
So let me
super
go on
boring.
and
She's
figure
one of
out
these
that.
people who
There's a
like
much
it's not
bigger
clear
issue
why
in
she's
addition
running.
to
She
that,
doesn't
and that is
like have any kind of vision. She's
The
just kind of
president
like,
literally went on
Hillary
TV
ran.
on Fox and said that people's heads would spin when they see how much he would bring down pharmaceutical prices. Instead, 2,500 drugs have gone up in double digits
No, no one
since
said
he
health
came
care
into
right here.
office. Instead, he gave $100 billion in giveaways to the pharma companies. For the rest of us, for the rest of America, that's what we call at home, all foam and no beer. We got nothing out of it.
All foam and no
my
beer. I wonder how much
proposal
she paid
is
her writer
to
for
do
that one.
something about pharma, to take them on, to allow
Look, I'm like
negotiation
you, I
under
drink
Medicare,
beer.
to bring in less expensive drugs from other countries. And pharma thinks they own Washington. Well, they don't own me.
Your time is up. Thank you. Senator Warren, you signed on to Bernie Sanders' Medicare for All plan. It would put essentially everybody on Medicare and then eliminate private plans that offer similar coverage. Is that the plan or path that you would pursue as president?
So yes, I'm with Bernie on Medicare for All, and let me tell you why. I spent a big chunk of my life studying why families go broke. And one of the #1 reasons is the cost of healthcare, medical bills. And that's not just for people who don't have insurance. It's for people who have insurance. Look at the business model of an insurance company.
It's not like it's regulated.
To bring in as many dollars as they can in premiums and to pay out as few dollars as possible for your health care. That leaves families with rising premiums, rising co-pays, and fighting with insurance companies to try to get the health care that their doctors say that they and their children need. Medicare for All solves that problem. And I understand there are a lot of politicians who say, oh, it's just not possible. We just can't do it. It's have a lot of political reasons for this. What they're really telling you is they just won't fight for it. Well, healthcare is a basic human right.
Yes!
Yes!
Healthcare is Thank you, Elizabeth Warren. All right.
You guys, I have 3 marked off.
Oh, really? I haven't been paying attention to any of them.
Private insurance. This year, you're saying you're no longer sure. Can you explain why?
What are the 3 you have, Carrie?
My goal
The wage pay gap.
is
Oh.
well enough.
Healthcare is all right. And then
They have
I marked off sexism before I remembered that we had a separate one for wage and pay gap. So I'm probably, but we'll get to sexism eventually. I'm going to leave it marked off.
He was told he had diabetes.
No,
he was
I
told he
didn't.
had glaucoma. And he was told untreated because he doesn't have health care, he'll be dead before the age of 40. So getting to guaranteed, high quality, universal health care as quickly and surely as possible has to be our goal. The ability to afford your prescriptions and go to a primary care provider, the ability to see a mental health care provider. In Texas, the single largest provider of mental health care services is the county jail system today. And healthcare also has to mean that every woman can make her own decisions about her own body and has access to the care that makes that
Woman's
possible.
right to choose. Does that count? Do we get that?
Woman's right to choose. Yes.
All
right.
Medicare. If you're insufficiently insured, you can't afford your premiums.
If you get-
you're a member of a union that negotiated for a health care plan that you like because it works for
Your
you
time is up.
and your family, you're able to keep it. We preserve choice by making sure that everybody has
time is
healthcare.
up, Congressman. But I do want to ask a follow-up on this one. Just to be very clear, I'll give you 10 seconds. Would you replace private insurance?
No, I think the choice is fundamental to our ability to get everybody care for.
Private insurance is not working for tens of millions of Americans. When you talk about the co-pays, the deductibles, the premiums, the out-of-pocket expenses, it's not working.
That's
How
right.
can you
So
defend
for
a
those
system
who
that's
it
not
is not
working?
working, they can choose Medicare. For the
Congressman,
culinary workers in
You got
Nevada
to
who I
start by
listen to,
acknowledging the
Blasio.
system is not working for people.
they're able to keep them.
Why are you
Million
defending private
Americans
insurance?
say they like their private health insurance, by the way. It should be noted that 100 million Americans. I mean, I think we should be the party that keeps what's working and fixes what's broken.
Hashtag time's up, Beto.
It's a basic human right.
Well, because he doesn't know how to
Full
answer
stop.
questions
But we should
ever. He
also
always
give them
just
the option
rambles and goes off
to buy
topic.
private insurance. Why do we have to
Evades.
stand for taking away something from people? And also, it's bad policy. If you go to every hospital in this country, and you
This
ask
is less
them
of an
one
oppression
question,
Olympics,
which is, how would it
an
have been
oppression
for you
Olympics than I
last
thought,
year
Carrie.
if every one of your bills were
No, I
paid?
have to agree. So far, it's not been as SJW as I thought it was going to be.
They're trying to be moderate,
would close.
which is interesting.
And the Medicare for All bill requires payments to stay at current Medicare rates. So to some extent, we're basically supporting a bill that will have every hospital closed. I mean, my dad was a union electrician, right? I actually grew up in a working class family. He loved the health care that the IBEW gave him. And I just always think about my dad and anything I would do from a policy perspective.
No, this is more
He'd
about
look
his
at
dad
me
growing up
and he'd say, good
working
job,
class. He
John,
likes to talk
for
about that
getting
too.
health care for every American.
I've let
But
this-
why are you taking my health
I've let this play out a little bit because I'm fascinated to hear the daylight between you. Congressman Gabbard,
Yes.
weigh in here.
I think we're talking about this in the wrong way. You're talking about one bill over another bill. Really what we're talking about is our objective, making sure that every single sick American in this country is able to get the health care that they need. I believe Medicare for All is the way to do that. I also think that employers will recognize how much money will be saved by supporting a Medicare for All program, a program that will reduce the administrative costs, reduce the bureaucratic costs, and make sure that everyone gets that quality health care that they need. I also think if you look at other countries in the world who have universal health care, every one of them has some form of a
I just
role
want to say I really love our commenters. You guys
taking-
are hilarious.
Yeah, our commenters are
no
great.
sick American goes without getting the care that they need, regardless of how much or little money they have in their pocket.
Congresswoman, thanks. Let me turn to Senator Booker on this. Senator Booker, explain to me where you are. This is hugely important to people. So tell us where you are.
I absolutely will. First of all, we're talking about this as a healthcare issue, but in communities like mine, low-income communities, it's an education issue because kids who don't have healthcare are not going to succeed in school. It is an issue for jobs and employment because people who do not have good healthcare do not succeed at work. It's even a retirement issue because in my community, African Americans have a lower life expectancy because of poorer healthcare. And so where I stand is very clear. Healthcare is not just a human right, it should be an American right. And I believe the best way to get there is Medicare for all. But I
wish I
have
had
an
more of those
urgency
boxes.
about this.
They're
When
all
I am
famous.
president of the United States, I'm not going to wait. We have to do the things immediately that are going to provide better care. And on this debate, I'm sorry, there are too many people profiteering off of the pain of people in America from pharmaceutical companies.
Doesn't he take a ton of money from pharmaceutical companies?
They charge
Who knows? It's so
Yeah,
rich.
no, but Cory Booker is one of the worst offenders.
Is he?
We can do this better, and every single day I will be fighting to give people more
Pharmaceutical
access and more
companies are
affordable
so
costs until we get to
regulated
my
that
goal,
they have to be in bed with regulators. So if there's a revolving door between, not a revolving door, but
And that
there's
is
a marriage
the
between the
insurance
two.
companies last year alone sucked $23 billion in profits out of the healthcare system.
Oh no, profits.
$23 billion. And that doesn't count the money that was paid to executives, the money that was spent lobbying Washington. We
Yes,
have a
that's why
giant
people invest,
industry that
so you get
wants
new
the
drugs, so
healthcare
they can get
system
profits.
to
That's
stay the
why
way it
people
is.
invest in new
It's
drugs.
not working for
Profits.
families, but it sure is heck working.
She's
for
like,
It's
she's
time
so,
come
she is
first.
so vicious.
It should
She's so
not
vile.
be an option in the United States of America for any insurance company to deny women coverage for their exercise of their right of choice.
You already have one. Come on, Jay. Come up with something else.
Who has passed a
Talk about
law
equality. I need that
protecting
one.
a woman's right of reproductive health and health insurance. And I'm the only candidate who
It's not reproductive health. Abortion is.
No, it's
not
anti-reproductive health.
do have one advance the ball. And we got to have access for everyone. I've done it as a public office.
I just wanted to be up here that have fought pretty hard for women's right to choose. So I'll start with that.
Hey.
Hey.
Pull out the ovary card, baby.
We share the goal of universal health care. And the idea I put out there, the public option, which the governor was just talking about, this idea is that you use Medicare or Medicaid without any insurance companies involved. You could do it either way. And the estimates are 13 million people would see a reduction in their premiums. 12 more million people would get covered. So I think it is a beginning in the way you start and the way you move to universal health care.
Secretary Castro, this one is for you. All of you on stage support a woman's right to an abortion. You all support some version of a government health care option. Would your plan cover abortion?
That guy looks like a cartoon villain.
Yes, it would. I don't believe only in reproductive freedom. I believe in reproductive justice.
Oh shit!
Wait, what did you just say?
I should have put reproductive justice.
Reproductive justice. What is that?
Let's also not
It's
forget
a new SJW term.
a trans female.
Just because a woman, or let's not
doesn't
forget
mean they
someone.
shouldn't have the
Wow.
right to exercise that right to choose. And so I absolutely would cover the right to have an abortion. More than that, everybody in this crowd and watching at home knows that in our country today, a person's right to choose is under assault in places like Missouri, in Alabama.
Men should have
in
3
Georgia.
abortions as well.
I would appoint judges to the federal bench that understand the precedent of Roe v. Wade and will respect it. And in addition to that, make sure that we fight hard as we transition our healthcare system to one where everybody can exercise that right.
Did he say something about trans females, or was I just mishearing that?
He said something about trans people. Yeah.
Certain that every woman has
I thought it was
access
related to reproductive
to
justice.
the
You'll have to
full
explain
range
that
of
one
reproductive
for
health
us.
care services.
And it's not reproductive.
Includes everything for a woman. And
Everything for a woman.
it's not enough for us to expect the courts to protect us. 47 years ago, Roe versus Wade was decided, and we've all looked to the courts all that time as state after state has undermined Roe, has put in exceptions, has come right up to the
Yeah,
edge
Keith. He does have a lot of
taking
hair
away
grease.
Your
protection.
time is up, Senator.
We now have an America where most people support Roe versus Wade. We need to make that
Senator
federal
Gerber,
law.
thank you. Jose?
Thank you.
Honestly, she's like dripping venom.
Discussion we were having about health.
Elizabeth Warren, every time she speaks, I feel like there's venom coming out of the corner of her mouth.
28 largest pharmaceutical companies are based. Should pharmaceutical companies that manufacture these drugs be held criminally liable for what they do?
They should absolutely be held criminally liable because they are liable and responsible. This is one of the reasons why, well before I was running for president, I said I would not take contributions from pharma companies, not take contributions from corporate PACs or pharma executives.
No, I think he's one of the biggest ones. Let me look it up.
If you start holding companies accountable, like liable for stuff that people do that they shouldn't do with their products, you will destroy. You will destroy product. You won't have progress.
To actually be the law of our land and make the pharmaceutical companies that are responsible help to pay for that.
Congressman O'Rourke, how would you do?
Tonight,
he's not going to answer. That's my prediction. No answer.
3 million of our fellow Americans behind bars. It's the largest prison population on the face of the planet. Many are there for nonviolent drug crimes, including possession of marijuana, at a time that more than half the states have legalized.
They mostly just hate good things.
And yet, despite what Purdue Pharma has done, their connection to the opioid crisis and the overdose deaths that we're seeing throughout this country, they've been able to act with complete impunity and pay no consequences, not a single night in jail. Unless there's accountability and justice, this crisis will continue. In my administration, we will hold them to account. We will make sure that they pay a price, and we will help those who've been victims of this malfeasance in this country, get them treatment and long-term care.
I know immigration is on a lot of your minds here, and I want to talk about it. We're going to talk about it in a moment. We need to take a break. We'll be back with more from Miami after this.
Oh, we're going to go to a commercial break. People don't mind.
Yeah. We have kids in cages on here. Which is
but they haven't said kids in cages yet.
Yeah, but when they talk about immigration, you know they're going to.
Yeah, I know they will. They will. But I'm not looking great. I only have 3 check marks. Oh, is that Beto turning on an air conditioner? There's I only have 3 boxes. Who has the most in chat? Who has boxes checked off? Who's close? Is anyone close? Yeah, it's a good intermission. It's time to go. If you have to go pee, now's the good time. There's no marijuana square. I don't know that it's a big issue. Maybe you think there should be a marijuana square? Maybe. I don't know. I do think we could redo these squares. What we could have done is made the squares more specific to the candidates, like curing cancer. That's a tomorrow issue. But I'm surprised we aren't getting some more like white nationalism, Trump fascist kind of stuff.
I mean, just based on the kind of stuff that Clinton talked about during the debates, I would have expected more of that kind of stuff.
You know, this is Carrie, this is interesting though, because it's I don't think they're not fighting an oppression battle right now. They're not doing the oppression Olympics. They're all trying to appear moderate in some way. Oh, here we are. We're back.
No. Turn to an issue that has been in the news, especially this week. There are undocumented children being held alone in detention, even as close as Homestead, Florida, right here, less than 30 miles
Does
from
that count as cages, or do we have to wait for someone to say cages?
Fathers and mothers.
No, I think that counts.
Are dying while trying to enter the United States of America. We saw that image.
They're dying trying to get into our concentration camps.
They had names. Oscar Martinez. And his
By the way, I included a link in the comments in the chat to an article, a Vox article actually, about Cory Booker and Big Farm.
Last month,
yeah, he's not
130,000
he's not woken up.
migrants were apprehended at the southern border. Secretary Castro, if you were president today, hoy, what would you specifically do?
Thank you very much, Jose. I'm very proud that in April I became the first candidate to put forward a comprehensive immigration plan. And we saw those images. Watching that image of Oscar and his daughter Valeria is heartbreaking. It should also piss us all off. If I were president today,
notice how they never put dead kid pictures up unless it helps their side.
Get rid of
Trump's zero
Oh
tolerance.
yeah, they banned photos of, like, if you look at some of the Islamic terrorist attacks in Europe, they purposefully do not allow publications to run photos of any of the dead bodies or dead children.
They have been
Yeah,
playing
Spartacus is
games
not woken
with
up.
people
That's
who
right,
are
Andrew.
coming and trying to seek asylum at our ports of entry. Oscar
Which
and
is
Valeria
scary,
went
right?
to a port of entry, and then they were denied the ability to make an asylum claim. So they got frustrated, and they tried to cross the river, and they died because of that.
On day one, sorry.
On day one, I would do that executive order that would address metering, and then I would follow that up in my first 100 days with immigration reform that would honor asylum claims, that would put undocumented immigrants, as long as they haven't committed a serious crime, on a pathway to citizenship, and that would go to the root cause.
Wait,
of
is
the
this, who is this? Is this Yang?
We need a Marshall Plan for Honduras and Guatemala and El Salvador, so that people can find safety and opportunity at home instead of coming to the United
Carter,
States.
you're muted.
Senator Booker, what would you do on day one? And this is a situation that the next president will inherit.
Yes.
La situación ahora es inaceptable. De presidente ha atacado, ha demonizado los inmigrantes. Es inaceptable y voy a cambiar este. On day one, I will make
fuck
sure
you, Beto.
that number one,
I can do that
end
too.
the ICE policies and the customs and border policies are
Sorry, I was
violating
muted because I
human
have
rights.
actually a friend
When people
coming over.
come to this country, they do not leave their human rights at the border. Number two, I will make sure that we reinstate DACA, that we reinstate pathways to citizenship for DACA recipients, and to make sure that people that are here on temporary protected status can stay and remain here. And then finally, we need to make sure that we address the issues that made Oscar and Valeria come in the first place by making major investments in the Northern Triangle, not like this president is doing, by ripping away the resources we need to actually solve this problem. We cannot surrender our values and think that we're going to get border security. We actually will lose security and our values. We must fight for both.
I think I've heard something similar. Is it freedom that we're not supposed to surrender?
My
I
plan,
could
and
have
I'm glad to
sworn
see that Senator Booker,
there
Senator
was
Warren,
something
and
like
Governor
that,
Inslee
Corey.
agree with me on this. My plan also includes getting rid of Section 1325 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, to go back to the way we used to treat this when somebody comes across the border, not to criminalize desperation, to treat that as a civil violation. And here's why it's important. We see all of this horrendous family separation. They use that law, Section 1325, to
The
justify
Democrats,
under the law,
so
separating
they want
children from their
immigration
families.
so much
So
because the vast majority of immigrants, especially coming across the southern border, are socialists. They're fleeing socialist countries. They vote socialist. That's what the Democrats want. This is a very, they don't care about any of these people. They only care about more votes for Democrats. Just be
doesn't just
clear.
go on at our border. It happens in our communities as ICE are ripping away parents from their American children, spouses and the like, and are creating fear in cities all across this country where parents are afraid to even drop their kids off to school or go to work.
Say it, Corey Balsha. Say it.
Discussion about immigration in this country, because look at the bottom line here. That tragic photo of that parent, that child. And I'm saying this as a father. Every
You're the
American
only
should feel
father
that in
on
their
stage,
heart. Every American
Brazil.
should say that is not America. Those are not our values, but we have to get under the skin of why we have this crisis in our system, because we're not being honest about the division that's been fomented in this country. The way that American citizens have been told that immigrants somehow created their misery and their
Yeah,
pain and
Andrew,
their
I think
challenges.
that's when
For all the American citizens
the
out there
Democrats are going to be
who feel
really
you're falling behind and
shocked
feel the American dream's
at
not
how
working
pandering
for
to
you.
Hispanics
The
and blacks
immigrants
isn't going
didn't
to
do
work.
that to you.
Okay, here's a weird stat. Like, as much as the media keeps calling Trump a racist, his support among Hispanic Americans and Black Americans has gone up, like way up.
Yeah.
We have to tell
Yeah.
working people in America who are hurting that we're going to be on their side every single time.
This guy, by the way,
against
this
those big
guy, de
corporations
Blasio's
who
thing
created
is
this
like,
mess to begin with.
he says there's plenty of money, it's just in the wrong hands. That's his like slogan thing. So he's all about wealth redistribution, like openly.
That's what we need to do as Democrats.
Congresista, if I could, I'm sorry. Congresista O'Rourke, ¿qué haría usted en el primer día, si usted es presidente, sobre esta realidad que está ocurriendo? What would you do?
Ah, Beto. Can you listen in Spanish or just memorize lines? Let's hear.
Cada persona con el respeto y dignidad que merecen como humanos. We would not turn back Valeria and her father, Oscar. We would accept them into this country and follow our own asylum laws. We would not build walls. We would not put kids in cages. In
But
fact,
follow our asylum laws, but they're not seeking asylum. I mean, the thing is, most of these people are not seeking asylum.
We are actually following our asylum laws, I believe.
Yeah.
Of Section 1325.
We would make sure.
Secretary, let him finish, and I will give you his policy. But let him finish. Let him finish, please. Yes.
We would not detain any family fleeing violence. In fact, fleeing the deadliest countries on the face of the planet today. We would implement a family case management program so they could be cared for in the community at a fraction of the cost. And then we would rewrite our immigration laws in our own image. Free dreamers forever from any fear of deportation by making them U.S. citizens here in this country. Invest in solutions.
Make them citizens so they can vote for Democrats.
So there's no reason to get 2,000 miles.
You know, I've been saying
that's all it's about. Honestly, they do not care. If I guarantee you, if Mexicans were coming in, pulling the elephant lever, they would be all about building a wall.
Which criminalizes coming across the border to incarcerate the parents and then separate them. Some of us on this stage.
Well, did they say kids contagious? Do I get that one, Amara?
Some, like Congressman O'Rourke.
We've already got that one. We've already got that one.
I just think it's a mistake.
So is it just me, or is everyone kind of talking over Beto? Are they trying to attack Beto? Do they actually view him as a threat?
He's such a cuck. He's so easy to attack. Why not pile on Beto?
Legislation that would ensure that we don't criminalize those who are seeking asylum and refuge in this country. If you're fleeing desperation, then I want to make sure they're treated with respect.
So yeah. So
just one small part of this. I'm talking about a comprehensive.
Julian is yelling at Beto for only caring about asylum people. He wants everyone.
Millions of folks.
Seems like
a lot of folks that are coming are not seeking asylum. A lot of them are undocumented immigrants, right? And you said recently that the reason you didn't want to repeal Section 13.
Who's the guy here on the left? It's hard for me to see.
You were concerned about
that's Julian Castro.
And
Beto O'Rourke.
Section 18, Title 18 of the U.S. Code, Title 21, and Title 22 already cover human trafficking. I think that you should do your homework on this issue. If you did your homework on this issue, you would not.
Two people who have no chance of winning have now monopolized the stage.
They should just do the rest of the debate in Spanish. Those two.
Let's.
It will be more entertaining.
Savannah, I know. It's just we could go on.
So I had a radical proposal, which is a good compromise, which is why not let
why
not let the people who are
get your chance to continue the discussion.
Build the wall.
Senator Klobuchar.
With the people who are what?
Why not let the people who are being detained build the wall?
No longer have it be a crime to illegally
give them a shovel
the border.
and some. Yeah.
Do you support that? Do you think it should be a civil offense?
We can pay him even.
And if so, do you worry about potentially incentivizing people to come here?
Immigrants.
No, immigrants don't come for incentives at all. That's just silly.
And I am happy to look at his
No one responds to incentives.
But I do think you want to make sure that you have provisions in place that allow you to go after traffickers and allow you to go after people who are violating the law. What I really think we need to step back and talk about is the economic imperative here. And that is that 70 of our Fortune 500 companies are headed up by people that came from other countries. 25% of our U.S. Nobel laureates were born in other
Jerry
countries.
Springer would be the best moderator ever.
We have a situation right now where we need workers in our field.
That's who should moderate.
We need them to start
You're
small
right.
businesses. We need their ideas. And this president has literally gone backwards at a time where our economy needs immigrants. And so my proposal is to look at that 2013 bill that passed the Senate with Republican support, to upgrade that bill, to make it as good as possible and get it done. It brings the debt down by $158 billion. It gives a path to citizenship for people who can become citizens. And it would be so much better for our economy in America.
That's time. Thank you.
Somebody in the chat said they should start talking in pig Latin.
I know. It would be just understandable.
Well, I agree with Secretary Castro. I think there are other provisions in the law that will allow you to prosecute people for coming over here if they're dealing in drugs and other things. That's already established in the law. So there's no need to repeat it. And I think it's abhorrent. We're talking about this father who got killed with his daughter. And in the issues here, the way these kids are being treated, if you go to Guantanamo Bay, there are terrorists that are held
So,
better health care than those kids that have tried to cross
so everyone,
the border in the United States. That
I have a
needs to
friend,
stop.
Kiara.
And I think
Say
the
hi,
president
Kiara.
should immediately
She's here.
ask doctors and nurses
You've seen,
to
she's famous because she's been in videos of
start
getting
taking care of these kids.
attacked for wearing a Make Bitcoin Great Again hat at a Milo rally in Berkeley. But she might comment. So if you hear weird comments from the side, it's Kiara.
And what has happened now, the end result is now we've got kids literally laying in their own
we're just kind
snot
of hanging
with
out.
3-week-old diapers that haven't been changed.
Hi, by the way.
That is not a sign of strength, Mr. President. That is a sign of weakness. And
Senator
there's
Booker, but no, a lot of people, Jose asked the question, if you're president on day one, what will you do with the fact that you will have families here? There's been a lot of talk about what you'll do in the first 100 days, about legislation. What will you actually do with these families? How will you care for them? Will they be detained or will they not be?
Well, this is a related and brief point, because what we're talking about, what Secretary Castro and I are talking about, is that we have the power to better deal with this problem through the civil process than the criminal process. I have been to some of the largest private prisons, which are repugnant to me, that people are profiting off incarceration, and their immigration lockups. Our country has made so many mistakes by criminalizing things, whether it's immigration, whether it's mental illness, whether it's addiction,
burning money.
We know that this is not the way to deal with problems. There is a humane way that affirms human rights and human dignity and actually solve this problem. Donald Trump isn't solving this problem. We've seen under his leadership a surge at our border. We solved this problem by making investments in the Northern Triangle to stop the reasons.
How is that an argument? We see under his leadership a surge at our border. Hey, Lou.
To provide health care, to
Welcome, Lou.
values and human dignity.
Your governor is up here, and your senator.
We cannot sacrifice our values, our ideals as a nation for border security. We can have both by doing this the right way.
All right, Senator, thank you. Let me go to Governor Inslee on this. What would you do on day one? Same question I just asked Cory Booker. I have yet to hear an answer from anyone on this stage. What will you do with the families that will be here?
There is no reason for the detention and separation of these children. They should be
What
released,
would you do, sir?
And they should have a hearing.
Executive orders. Executive orders.
That's what should happen. And we
I think
should
you
do
would
what
outlaw
we're doing in
carbon.
Washington State. I'm proud that we've passed a law that prevents local law enforcement from being turned into mini ICE agents. I'm proud to have been the first governor to stand up against Donald Trump's heinous Muslim ban. I'm proud to be a person who's not only
It wasn't a Muslim ban. I should have put that on here.
Oh yeah, wait, there's no Muslim ban? Oh, there's Islamophobia, but not.
These are some of the most inspirational people in our state. And I'll leave you with this thought if you want to know what I think. Donald Trump the other day tried to threaten me. He thought it was a threat to tell me that he would send refugees in Washington State if we passed the law that I passed. And I told him that's not a threat at all. We welcome refugees into our state.
Wow.
We recognize diversity as the strength. This is how we built America.
I think that Trump should call his bluff.
If I'm president.
So then, we're going to switch to another topic now. We've got a lot to get through. Let's talk. My grandfather was actually separated from his family when he came to this country.
We're going to talk about Iran right now because we're working against the clock. Tankers have been attacked. A U.S. drone has been shot down. There have been disturbing
Do you actually believe the tankers were attacked
by
by
both the
Iran?
U.S. and
I still
Iranian
don't know if I
leadership.
believe that.
I'd like, if you can, just for a moment, to put aside how you think we may have gotten here. But what I want to know is, how do you dial it back? So a show of hands, who as president would sign on to the 2015 nuclear deal as it was originally negotiated? Well,
wow.
Senator Booker,
Wow. The only people raising their hands would just put larger pallets of cash into
One of the
Tehran.
reasons why we're seeing this hostility now is because Donald Trump is marching us to a far more dangerous situation. Literally, he took us out of the deal and gave us transparency into their nuclear program.
This is the first 10, and there's another 10 tomorrow. But like Elizabeth Warren's in here,
and now we see Iran threatening to go
I don't
further,
think so,
and
but some people
being pulled in further and further
Tomorrow's
into
the big
this crisis.
Okay, tomorrow's the big one. That's what I'm just catching up.
Back into a deal, but I'm not going to have a
I think
primary
Warren
platform to
might end
say,
up being the nominee.
rejoin that
I don't think so, but the media really was pushing Warren a lot. They like Warren a lot because they like vituperations and anger.
Leverage a better deal.
Crazy venom.
all right, Senator Klobuchar, I'd like you to answer that question because you said you would negotiate yourself back into the Iranian agreement. Can you argue that that nuclear pact, as it was ratified, was a good deal?
Yes, it was.
It was imperfect, but it was a good deal for that moment. I would have work to get longer sunset periods, and that's something we could negotiate to get back in the deal. But the point is, Donald Trump told us when he got out of it that he was going to give us a better deal.
Useless. She's like horrible.
And now we are a month away.
She's only famous because she yelled at Kavanaugh.
Who claim now that they're going to blow the caps.
She's not going to
compete
with
uranium. And the Iranians have told us this. And so that's where we are right now. He has made us less safe than we were when he became president. So what I would do is negotiate us back into that agreement, is stand with our allies and not give unlimited leverage to China and Russia, which is what he has done.
It keeps,
and then
I do that, and then
I would make sure
gets light
that
again.
if there is any possibility of a conflict, and we're having this debate in Congress right now, that he comes to Congress for an authorization of military force. I would do that. And this president is literally every single day 10 minutes away from going to war, one tweet away from
let me
going
know
to
when
war.
it does. It'll like
turn
the backlight on again randomly. So let me know when it does that.
Congresswoman Gabbard.
Oh yeah, I can see them now.
Yeah, it's fine when I turn the backlight off, but it pops on randomly. I don't know why.
It addressed Iran's support for Hezbollah.
Let's deal with the situation where we are, where this president and his chicken hawk cabinet have led us to the brink of war with Iran. I served in the war in Iraq
I don't know
at
what
the
it
height
means,
of the war in 2005, a war that took over 4,000 of my brothers and sisters in uniforms lives.
Wow.
The American
So she's
people need to
okay.
understand that this war with Iran would be far more devastating,
she's like a socialist,
far more costly than anything that we ever saw in Iraq. It would take many more lives. It would exacerbate the refugee crisis, and it wouldn't be just contained within Iran. This
I
is
like her. The people that like her, they're more like classical liberals.
so important
Yeah.
that every one of
But
us, that
leftists
every
don't like
single
her.
American
Leftists hate her. Yeah. Leftists have tried to take her down.
We need to get back into
All
the
these
Iran
people,
nuclear
none of them
agreement,
stand a chance.
and we need
Too
to
much infighting.
negotiate how we can improve
Yeah, well,
it.
Trump's
It
just
was
gonna-
an imperfect deal. There
I
are
mean, I
issues
think it's unlikely.
like
anyway.
their missile development that needs to be addressed. We can do both simultaneously to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon and preventing us from going
Time
to
is up.
war.
I have just a very quick follow-up.
This is her
What would your
expertise,
red
like
line
foreign
be
policy. She likes to
that
talk
would-
about.
for
This.
military
She sets herself
By the way,
apart.
is that a shock of white hair on the side there?
Yeah, she's got like a little skunk thing going on the
That's-
side.
And there would have to be
He
a
looks good.
It's
looks
important
great.
for us to recognize this is Donald Trump and his cabinet, Mike Pompeo, John Bolton, and others are creating a situation that just a spark would light off a war with Iran, which is incredibly dangerous. That's why we need to de-escalate
They really
tensions.
want to bet
Trump
on
needs to
Trump
get
going to
back
war
into
with
the Iran
Iran.
nuclear deal.
If
and
he doesn't do
swallow
that,
his
then
pride.
her,
Put the
then her
American
foreign
people
policy.
Yeah, they're not, I mean,
looks stupid.
they like to pretend that Trump's this crazy man who wants to go to war, but he hasn't
But
done
he
it.
said he does not want to do that.
Yeah.
Mayor de Blasio will have more. The commercial is coming. We will continue our questioning next.
Yeah.
Chuck Todd, Rachel Maddow, stick around. We'll have a lot more with some very ancient.
But I'll be right back, guys. I have to pee. Carrie will entertain you. Or PR, do you want to entertain me? Yeah. She doesn't want to entertain you.
I just came from a conference, guys. I'm sorry.
All right, no, I'm going to go pee. I'll be back.
Okay. Let's see. You guys in the chat are hilarious. You're making me laugh a lot tonight. Did anyone bring up Russia yet? Nobody brought up Russia yet. And by the way, like I said earlier, we could have done a better job of the bingo squares, I admit. And I forgot to put Russia on here. So go ahead, since they haven't mentioned it yet, go ahead and pick any square that you want and change it to Russia. Let's see. I wouldn't vote for her any more than I'd vote for Tucker Carlson. What does that mean? I mean, I might vote for Tucker Carlson. Says, can somebody start talking about privilege or something so I can mark off another square? Sheesh. I love the fact that they're actually not being big SJWs like we thought they were going to be, but somehow we're bummed out by that. It's kind of a good thing. It should be a good thing, right? That they're not talking about all this oppression that we thought they'd be talking about. Let's see. She's the only attractive one on the stage, that's for sure. Yeah. As people were saying earlier in the chat, it would be nice to have a hot president. But we've already had Obama, right, guys? Herman, yes, they did mention kids in cages. They did a whole bit about immigration policy. And they didn't use that exact phrase, but they used that phrase. They talked about kids being detained. You're bummed out by the lack of SJWism? This is what we should want, right? We should want, I don't want to, actually, isn't this kind of a good thing? The best thing so far was the Espanol, yes. Actually, I think it's interesting. I did not expect them to try and play to the middle as much as I think they are. So maybe they've done some polling and have come to the conclusion that, look, the majority of the country is not down with this ideology that you guys keep doubling down on. They aren't going to go full SJW because the topics they've agreed upon, healthcare, immigration, etc. Oh, okay. I didn't realize they had agreed to certain topics. Tulsi is Tucker with long hair. I still don't get that. What does that mean? What is ma privilege? Oh, ma is just a funny internet meme that people say instead of my. They say ma privilege, like it's just a silly thing. It's just if they talk about privilege. Beto in particular tends to talk about his white male privilege quite a bit. So I figured at some point we would hear him talking about that. Tucker is against bombing Iran. Okay, I'll scroll back. I still don't get it though. Yes, it's a way to mock privilege, saying ma privilege. It's kind of just a way to make fun of people who talk about privilege or whatever you put it in front of, like, you know, ma male privilege, ma white privilege, any of that stuff that they talk about all the time.
Welcome back, everyone, to the first Democratic presidential debate from the Arts Center in Miami.
And as we continue the questioning, time to get more members of our team in the mix.
So right now, let's turn it over to Chuck Todd and Rachel Maddow.
Sorry, I'm back. Oh, Rachel Maddow. She is the worst person on the planet, I think, possibly.
I've met her a couple of times. Did I tell you this?
No, but she is. Did I tell you that I watched her today by mistake? She's so boring.
Now, the candidates will have 60 seconds
She's
to
from your
answer,
hometown?
30 seconds for a
Really?
follow-up if necessary, and we will be ruthless if necessary.
Yeah, we can do that. By the way, hi, Rachel.
Hi, Chuck.
How you doing?
Good.
And we've got a lot of ground to cover.
We're definitely getting
We've
some
got
Russia
guns and
from
climate
her.
here up top, a whole lot more in this hour.
Yeah.
Obviously,
She's
because of the
still- yeah,
size
she's
of the
still committed.
field. Not every person will be able to weigh in on everything, but over the course of this next hour, we will hear from everyone. I promise everybody. And to begin with, we're going to go with guns. And Senator Warren, I want to start with you.
Guns.
We are less than 50 miles from Parkland, Florida, where 17 people were killed in a school shooting last year, and where there has been significant activism on gun violence ever since.
C.
Many of
Brown
you are
asked about meeting her. What was she like? Well, we had her as a guest. We booked her as a guest on a TV show that I produced called Totally Biased. And I mean, she's what you would expect. She's a professional SJW.
Everybody's
And at the
mics
time,
are
I
off.
loved that. I loved her.
I heard that too. That's okay. I think we had a little mic issue in the back.
Control room, we've got
We have the
And no one cares about your mics or even what you're saying. We're just watching for
All
fun.
right. So the question is simply this. We're from, I apologize, you guys didn't get to hear this, the first part of the question. Obviously, we're not far from Parkland, Florida. Gun activism has become a big part of high school life up there in Broward County. Many of you are calling for tighter gun restrictions. Some of you are calling for the restoration of the assault weapons ban. But even if it's put in place,
Now would be a great time for Corey to repeat his quote about giving up a little bit of freedom for security or whatever he was alluding to earlier.
In order to get these guns off the streets.
Yeah, she does get less
We are
interesting
hearing
as
our
time goes on.
colleagues' audio. If the control room could turn off the mics. Yeah, if the control room could turn off the mics of our
Where's that guy on the right? I kind of see have a job. He just
We prepared for everything.
you didn't miss anything, Omara, other than some mic issues.
Quick break. We're going to get this technical situation fixed. We will be right back.
Wait, they're leaving again? They got to use their tech. Even my tech's fucking working, NBC. What the fuck's wrong with you? God. I'm going to mute your goddamn commercials.
Wow.
I'm going to take shooting lessons. Spock's mom, you don't have to say this in chat, but I know who you are, so you can tell me later. Where do you live? I used to teach, I think Carrie used to teach firearms as well. We both used to teach people.
This is true.
Totally, you should take shooting lessons. No price on the safety of our children. You know what? Good boy, growing up, I remember mocking politicians for like, it's for the children, and it hasn't changed. It's always for the children. More state, always for the children.
By the way, Good Boy is a comedian, guys, and you should link.
It's that Good Boy. Yeah. I watched your show. I forget the name of it, but it was fun. Carrie was on it. It was awesome. Go watch Good Boy. Tell us where your channel is.
So people can follow you.
Yeah. Maybe they're having an active shooter incident. Yeah, unlikely.
I'm not sure what his name is. Does anyone remember what his tie looked like?
No, but he'll be back on for. My daughter is drawing Julian Castro as a villain in a comic book right now, and she wants to know what his tie looks like. So I'm telling her that he'll be back. You'll get to see his tie. Don't worry. Cabaret, yes, thank you. Cabaret. So by the way, buying ammo, like the latest thing I've been seeing with these people, because I went to all their websites to do research for this, they're like, a lot of them want background checks for ammo purchases as well, which is just ludicrous. Yeah, that's why Dylan makes nice presses. Just get a press and sit downstairs and pull the lever. Make your own ammo, but Jesus.
What's the failure rate of homemade ammo?
If you do it right, it's better. In fact, if you're a sniper, you have to basically load your own ammo unless you're going to buy it in lots. Because if you do like precision rifle, you either buy ammo in like huge lot, like 1,000 round lots at least, because you can't have variability. So you need like very consistent, because you sight it in with a particular powder. So actually, if you're doing precision shooting, loading your own is better usually. And for everything else, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, reusing brass can get to be a problem, because then, like, the more you reuse it, the more likely it'll malfunction.
Okay, so it's better than through the function.
But if you buy all the new things, then you're fine. Gotcha. It's just if you're trying to be cheap, which I would be if you're shooting pistols or something, you'd just be super cheap. Sorry, I'm having a side conversation with Kiara, everyone. Castro is a hologram. No, because he would be more interesting if he were a hologram. And Lou does buy 1,000 lots for all ammo because Lou's fucking awesome. But a lot of people don't. But trust me, Lou is fucking awesome. Carrie, you have no comments on what's going on?
I'm sorry, I muted myself so I could eat a bunch of pistachios.
Yeah, Herman, you're right. It is like carving wood. It's a great pastime. Basically, old people hand load ammo for fun. But you're gonna have to. It's one of those pastimes that you're gonna have to learn because they're gonna outlaw it everywhere. So that's why my next thing is gonna be figuring out some 3D gun printing. That'll be fun. So
it's too bad what happened to Cody Wilson on that front.
Is he in jail?
I haven't followed it after the calamity, but
I think he's here in Austin, isn't he?
Well, he also was in trouble for some things unrelated to firearms, I think.
That seemed to be relatively true.
Yes, and seemed to be disturbing, which we will not talk about in front of a small child. No. Okay. Hi, small child.
The
believe.
All right, we're back.
Technical difficulties fixed.
Never
right?
say that.
Never
No,
say
the
never,
technical
but we
difficulties
will,
are persisting
we will
because
march
the woman
forward
on the
here,
left
and I
looks
will
like a
lean
man.
Forward here a little bit.
Fix
Senator
that.
Warren, we're going to get to the gun question here. Parkland, Florida. It's just north of here in Broward County. As you know, it has created a lot of teenage activism on the gun issue. It has inspired a lot of you to come out with more robust plans to deal with guns, including assault weapons ban. But even if you're able to implement
By the way,
that,
if there's one kind of activism we should not listen to, it's teenage activism.
already out there,
Yeah.
and does the federal government
that's a
have to
good
play
point.
a role in dealing with it?
So in this period of time that I've been running for president, I've had more than 100 town halls. I've taken more than 2,000 unfiltered questions. And the single hardest question I've gotten, I got one from a little boy and I got one from a little girl. And that is to
I know.
say,
My heart's about to.
when you're president, how are you going to keep us safe?
Oh my goodness.
I
Oh.
will not keep you safe.
As adults,
That will be your
7
job.
children will die today.
The police will show
from
up
gun
later
violence, children and
to do the
teenagers.
paperwork on your
And
body. That's
they
how
won't just die
government
in mass shootings. They'll die on sidewalks. They'll die in playgrounds. They'll die in people's backyards. Gun violence is a
Yeah,
national
Omara,
health
that's- see, you know.
emergency in this country, and we need to treat it like that. So what can we do? We can do the things that are sensible. We can do the universal background checks. We can ban the weapons of war, but we can also double down on the research
The weapons
and
of
find
war.
out what really works, where it is that we can make the differences at the margins that will keep our children safe. We need to treat this
Okay.
like the
Thank you, Senator
virus
Warren.
that's killing our
Maybe you should
children.
teach them marksmanship
Do you think
in
the federal government
school.
needs to go and figure out a way to get the guns that are already out there?
What
Even
I
if-
think we need to do
Very
is we
quickly.
need to treat it like a serious research problem, which we have not done. You know, guns in the hands of a collector who's had them for decades, who's never fired them, who takes safety seriously.
Guns are great if you don't fire them.
Yeah.
Guns that are
He's just
Oh,
a collector.
God. You know what? You need to collect guns so you can fight back against her fucking regime. That's the reason to have
public
guns.
health emergency. That
Crazy
means bring
authoritarian
data to
lady.
bear, and it means make real change in this country,
Thank you,
whether
Senator.
it's politically popular or not.
Senator Booker, you have a program.
For our children.
Senator Booker.
That's true. Gun violence is not actually a big epidemic. It's just in the news. That's a good point.
going to work?
Well, first of all, I want to say my colleague and I both have been hearing this on the campaign trail.
Oh,
Even worse is I hear
I would like to
gunshots
hijack
in my
her
neighborhood.
story because it was so
I think I'm
touching.
the only one. I hope I'm the only one on this panel here that had 7 people shot in their
Where
neighborhood
did you teach
just
school,
last
Fox
week.
Mom?
Someone I knew, Shahad Smith, was killed with an assault rifle at the top of my block last
Assault
year.
rifle.
For millions of Americans, this
'Cause
is
it was
not a
black
policy issue.
and
This
had a
is an
pistol grip.
emergency. And for those who have not been directly affected, they're tired of living in a country where their kids go to school to learn about reading, writing, and arithmetic, and how to deal with
I
an
don't care
active
about
shooter
Reddit.
in their school.
It's okay.
This is something that I'm tired of, and I'm tired of hearing people, all they have to offer is thoughts and prayers. In
okay.
my faith,
I hate the way they denigrate thoughts and prayers. I hate it.
find out the reason we have a
Well, they
problem
certainly
right now
don't like
is we let
thoughts.
the
And
corporate
as
gun lobby
Kiara
frame this
pointed out, they're
debate.
attacking
It is
Christianity,
time
so
that we have
it makes
bold
perfect
actions
sense.
and a bold agenda. I will get that done.
You
as
know-
President of
well,
the United States,
hold on.
because this is not about policy. This is personal.
Thank you, Senator Booker.
Secretary Castro,
It's not about
I wanna talk
policy.
to you about something that Senator Booker just mentioned. there.
Common
The idea
sense,
of
Fox
constitution
Mom and I
violation.
are from the same. We're from the same state.
And almost every
Oh,
day
okay.
or every week occurrence now. They don't make a complete news cycle anymore, no matter the death
You know what's an
toll.
occurrence that
As
doesn't
parents
make
are so
news cycles,
afraid for their
Rachel?
kids to go off school that their kids will be
Protecting
caught up in
people with
something like this.
firearms, even not
Next to
firing them,
nothing
just
has
brandishing
changed
a
in
weapon
federal law that might
and
affect the prevalence of
keeping
school
people
shootings.
safe, which happens
Is this a
way,
problem
way,
that's going to
way more
continue to
often.
get worse
But you don't
over
report
our
on it,
lifetimes?
bitch.
Or is there something that you would do as president that you really think would turn it around?
Yeah, Rachel, I'm the
Here,
dad of a 10-year-old girl.
here's some
Taina,
tie
who's
that you
here
want.
tonight. And
This
Have you
blue
seen
white dot.
that? Have you seen that photo of Rachel Maddow from college before she looked like an SJW?
place it's
Oh,
supposed to be safe.
yes.
The
I don't
answer to
remember
your
it, but
question
yeah.
is no.
I keep
We
looking
don't
over
have
here,
to
but
accept
camera's
that.
here. Yeah, I have.
I believe that on
can
January
find-
20th,
should I find it?
2021, at 12:01 p.m., we're going to have a Democratic president, a Democratic House, and a Democratic Senate. And the activists of Parkland, folks from Moms Demand, who have risen up across the United States and inspired.
Yes,
so
they are.
many
Really are.
people. You know, we may not have seen yet legislative action, but we're getting closer. The House took a vote. In the Senate.
So back when I was in SJW,
if the decision
I
is
was a
between
little bit odd because I was an SJW who shot because I grew up shooting.
common sense gun
And
reform, I'm gonna
So
choose
Antifa
common
would
sense
welcome
gun
you with
reform.
open
So I
arms
believe
now.
that we're gonna be
Probably. But so I actually believed the line that they were not trying to ban guns. Like I believed that it was just about some common sense gun control. But now they've told us outright they're trying to ban guns.
I support.
Yeah, by the way,
in every school.
did you see that
we need
picture? That was
social
Rachel
emotional
Maddow.
learning
I
in
did, but
every
we couldn't hear
school.
you. But it was a funny
I know you
picture.
couldn't hear me. I couldn't do both. But that was great.
She looks so different.
90% of them
Yeah.
feel shamed, traumatized, or bullied. We need to make sure that these kids feel connected to the school. That means a mental health counselor in every single school in the United States. We need to start playing offense. If our kids are so traumatized that they're getting a gun and going into our schools, we're doing something wrong too, and we need reform around trauma-based care.
Congressman O'Rourke, you're a Texans campaign.
That's the first time I agreed with anyone. You are doing something wrong.
Parts there. What do you
I
tell a
agree.
gun owner who may agree with you on everything else? Okay, but says, you know what? The Democrats, if I vote for them in there, they're going to take my gun away. And even though I agree with you on like these other issues, how do you have that conversation?
Here's how we had that conversation in Texas. I shared with them what I learned from those students who survived the Santa Fe High School shooting. Young student
Yeah,
named
and we didn't vote for you in Texas.
Marcel, who survived another shooting.
Here's how we solve it in Texas. Yeah, we didn't vote for you here, dude.
We talked about
Yeah.
universal background checks, where you close
The conversation I had that
know
didn't
they
work.
save lives. Talked about ending the sales of assault weapons into our communities. Those weapons of war were designed to kill people as effectively and as efficiently as possible.
This might
They should
work.
belong on the battlefield and not in our communities.
Here's
Red
Rachel
flag
Maddow. I can
laws,
talk and you
if
can see
someone
Rachel
poses a
Maddow.
danger to themselves or to
In
someone
all her
else, they're
glory.
stopped before it's too late. And what I found in each one of those 254 counties is that Democrats and independents and Republicans, gun owners
All
and
hated
non-gun owners alike agreed. But this effort must be led by the young people that you referenced at the beginning of this issue.
By the young people.
Marjorie Stoneman.
By the way,
led
Colonel
the
Cooper
charge
wrote a great
here
book.
in Florida,
He's an
and they've
old
been able to
dead guy now,
change
but
those laws. They're
he wrote a
making
book
our
called To
democracy
Ride,
work,
Shoot Straight, and
ensuring
Speak
that
the
our
Truth. And
values
those are
and
the
our
three
interests and our
things he thought
priorities
every young man
are
should
reflected
learn.
in the laws
And
that we
I'm not
pass.
sure that it should be limited to young men. And I don't think
Let me
I don't think
30
anything's
seconds.
changed. You should learn to
Senator
ride, shoot straight, and
Klobuchar,
speak
the
the truth.
Iron Range, I'm curious. Gun confiscation, right? If the government is buying back, how do you not have that conversation?
Well, that's not confiscation. You would give them the offer to buy back their gun. But I'll say this. I look at these proposals and I say, does this hurt my Uncle Dick in his deer stand coming from a proud hunting and fishing state? These proposals don't do that. When I was a prosecutor, I supported the assault weapon ban. When
Does
I
it
was in
hurt
the
her
Senate,
dick?
I
Is that
saw
what you
those
said?
moms come and try to advocate for change, and we all failed.
Said something about her
We're all
uncle.
about trans women, so you go, girl.
They started literally a national shift. You know why? It's just like with gay marriage. When kids talk to their parents and their grandparents, they say, I don't understand why we can't put these sensible things in place. They listen. And if we get bested by a bunch of 17-year-olds, it's the best thing that ever happened. We need to get
Let me go to you on another matter, actually. Senator Mitch McConnell says that his most consequential achievement as Senate Majority Leader
Good point,
was
Lou, on
preventing
home defense
President
and assault
Obama
rifles.
from filling a
Assault
Supreme Court seat.
weapons.
Having served with Republicans on the Judiciary Committee, do you believe they would confirm your court nominees?
I'm going to use 20 of my seconds just to say there's one thing we don't all agree with when it comes to guns, and I think it's common sense, and over 70%
I'm not
of
going to
Americans
answer your
agree with
question.
me. If you need a license
I'm
to
going to agree
drive
with
a
people.
car, you should need a license to buy and own a firearm.
Unless there was an amendment to the Constitution that said everyone has a right to drive a car without your interference.
In gun
Just
violence,
theoretically.
15% drops in suicides. We need to start having bold agendas on guns. When it comes to the Supreme
Yeah,
Court,
you're right.
very
It's about
clearly,
protecting ourselves from these
Secretary
douchebags.
Castro,
That's what it's
we
about.
are going to get to 50 votes in the Senate. This is a team sport. Whoever is our nominee needs to campaign in places like South Carolina because we can elect
Oh,
Jamie.
South Carolina, home state.
All right.
In places like
Omara, this is your chance.
Win a Senate seat there.
Vote for Corey. He's going to campaign in South Carolina.
50 votes in
Oh,
the
that's
Senate.
Spock's mom you're thinking of.
We can not
Oh,
only
sorry,
balance
Spock's mom.
the Supreme Court,
Someone is there.
but start to pass an aggressive agenda that, frankly, isn't so aggressive because most of America agrees with the policy objectives of our party.
And this is why we're not a democracy.
Congressman Delaney, you'll have some time in a moment on this issue.
Whenever they talk about assault rifles, I like to point out that my rifle is a defense rifle.
City in this country, you are used to saying what you want to have happen and having it happen. If you nominate a Supreme Court nominee as President of the United States and Mitch McConnell is still Senate Majority Leader, what makes you
Good
believe
point, Spock's mom.
that he would allow you to make a nominee?
Rachel, I am chief executive of the nation's largest city, and I also want to just say something quick on the gun issue and come to your question. Look, I run the largest police force in America, too, and if we're going to stop these shootings, we're going to get these guns off the street, we have to have a very different relationship between our police and our community. I also want to say there's something that sets me apart from all my colleagues running in this race, and that is for the last 21 years, I've been raising a black son in America.
I was wondering if he was going to bring that up. He was going to bring up that he married a black woman. Oh my God, why is that not on here?
I have a black son should be on here.
I know. Oh, we failed.
Between our young men and our police, too, as we saw recently in Indiana. So we need to have a different conversation in this country about guns, but also a different conversation about policing.
Oh, Jenny's also in South Carolina.
In New York City.
Oh, really?
We've driven down crime while we've done it. But to your question about Mitch McConnell, there's a political solution that we have to come to grips with. If the Democratic Party would stop acting like the party of the elites and be the party of working people again and go into states, including red states, to convince people we're on their side, we can put pressure on their senators to actually have to vote for the nominees that are put forward. Decent jurists deserve that right.
Just curious, South Carolina, will you guys secede, or are you one of the states that's
Let
going
me
to be
get
like,
this
fuck it,
question. We're
if
trying.
these guys win?
I know you guys, we got other issues.
Well, there's a joke in South Carolina that we were the state most likely to secede.
On the Mitch McConnell thing.
Like in
because
a,
you-
like a college superlative, most likely to secede.
Talk about the Supreme
Anyway.
Court. Do you have a plan to deal with Mitch McConnell if you don't beat him in the Senate? If he's still sitting there as the Senate
There was a
Majority
movement at some
I
point.
feel like her answer is going to be poison apple.
with a Republican Senate, do you have a plan
Sorry, go
to
ahead.
deal with
Aaron.
Mitch
I was
McConnell?
gonna say there was a movement. I want to say it was like 10 or 15 years ago. There was a movement to try and get a lot of Christian conservatives to all migrate to South Carolina, but I don't know whatever happened to that. I don't think it worked.
And the way a democracy is supposed to work is the will of the people matters. Now, we for far too long have had a Congress in Washington that has just completely dismissed what people care about across this country. They have made this country work much better for those who can make giant contributions, made it work better for those who hire
If any of these
armies,
people win, we are
lobbyists, and
so fucked.
lawyers, and not
What?
made it work for the people.
He says, "I know a black person. Vote for me."
Number one, I want to see us get a Democratic majority in the Senate.
I know a
But
black
short of
person. Vote for me.
Democratic majority in the Senate, you better understand the fight still goes on. It starts in the White House, and it means that everybody we energize in 2020 stays on the front lines come January 2021.
I'm related to a woman. Vote for me.
To push from the outside, have leadership from the inside,
Okay.
and make this Congress reflect the will
I'm going to
of
get
the
to.
people.
I'm going to get a couple of you in here.
Yeah, good point, Andrew. This is why we don't have democracy.
Congressman Delaney, you seem to believe you can do everything in a bipartisan manner.
You
Mitch
seem to be
McConnell doesn't
naively
operate
optimistic,
that way. He
Congressman
operates
Delaney.
differently. Why do you think he is going to conform to your style?
I think we need to get things done. That's why I believe we need to operate in a bipartisan manner. Listen, I'll sign into law bills
I hate
that come
getting
to the
things
White
done.
House that are passed on a
Seriously,
party
stop
line
doing
basis.
things, people.
Absolutely. But all the big transformative things we've ever done in this country's history have happened when huge majorities of the American people get behind them, which is why we need real solutions, not impossible promises. We need to put forth ideas that work, whether it's on health care, creating universal health care so that every American gets health care, but not running on making private insurance illegal. The gun issue is related. The gun safety issue is related because
This guy's all
I
about
can't tell you
pegging.
how many times I've been with folks in Western Maryland,
all about
and they've
pegging.
said to me, You know, Democrats don't do anything for us. Republicans don't do anything for us. You fight all the time, so they vote on that single issue.
Okay,
if we become the party of getting things done for the American people with real solutions, not impossible promises, we'll be able to get all these things done.
2:30s here. I'm going to say, Senator
Anything
Booker,
done.
30 seconds. How do you deal with Mitch McConnell? You've been in the Senate. You can't get bills on the floor right now with Mitch McConnell. Presidents can't do it. Is President Booker going to get his
Spartacus. Go
bills on the
Spartacus.
floor
Tell
with
us.
Senator McConnell?
You know, when I got to the
Hero.
United States Senate, going back to what de Blasio said, as an African-American man in an African-American dominated community, I knew one of the biggest issues was criminal justice reform. From police accountability to dealing with the fact that we have a nation that has more
Wait,
African-Americans under
Did
criminal
he say that
supervision.
he's an African-American man?
50. And when I got to the Senate, people
Why?
told me we
You don't
could
think
not
he's a
get
man?
comprehensive
Or you don't think
criminal
he's
justice
No.
reform bill done. As my
Oh,
colleague
he's talking. Sorry.
on that bill from the day I got to the Senate,
I mean, I can debate either one with you. I'm open.
I was looking at the other screen, which is on a delay. Okay.
I've taken on tough problems that you cannot achieve, and I've been able to get things accomplished.
Thank you, Senator Booker. Rachel's got the next question.
Climate change man has something to say. I'm pointing. I'm pointing.
Governor Inslee, this
Just
next
give us a
question
second.
is to you.
I do love though that De Blasio was like, I have a black son, and then Cory Booker's like, I am black.
Right, yeah.
It is first, second, and third priority for you. You said it's all the issues. Let's get specific. We're here in Miami, which
Mike
is already
Gardner's black.
experiencing
Oh, wait,
serious
no, that's-
flooding on
can't say
sunny days as a result of sea level rise. Parts of Miami Beach and the Keys could be underwater in our lifetimes. Does your plan save
Oh my
Miami?
God. Keith, tell us, is Florida about to sink into the ocean because of climate change?
We are the first generation to feel the sting of climate change. And
Are
we're
we?
the last that can do something.
I don't know
about
that
it.
we've
Our
felt the
towns
sting.
are
I mean,
burning,
even if
our
all the
schools
models are
flooding,
correct and you're 100%
Miami
correct,
is inundated.
I don't know that we
And
really
we have to
felt the
understand,
sting. I
this
don't know that you
is
can
a
blame
climate
things on climate
crisis.
change so far.
And
Uh-oh.
our last
Technically.
chance in the administration, next one, to do something about it. And we need to do what I've done in my state. We've passed
So this
a
is, if you want to
100%
expand
clean
government, you
electrical
always
grid
have to have
bill.
an emergency, and everyone,
We
they
now
just
have
pick
a
their own
vision
emergency.
statement.
His emergency
My
is
plan
climate
has been
change. So,
called the
you know.
gold standard of putting people to work. But the most important thing on this, and the biggest decision for the American public is, who's going to make
That's
this
a
the
good
first
question. Maybe he
priority?
does have blue eyes.
And I am the candidate and the only one who's saying this has to be the top priority of the United States, the organizing principle to mobilize the United States so that we can do what we've always done, lead the world and invent the future and put 8 million people to work.
Governor Inslee,
That's what we're going to do.
Governor Inslee.
Congressman O'Rourke, you've also put out a big climate change plan from your campaign. You want some big changes in a pretty short period of time, including
He's so
switching
out
to
of
renewable energy.
Beto is
switching
out
to
of his
replace
league
gas-powered cars
everywhere
in
he
favor of
is.
electric ones.
He's like
What's
trying
your
to sit at
message
the
to a
grown-up
voter who
table every
supports
time
the
he's
overall
anywhere.
goal of what you're trying to do, but suddenly feels as if government's telling them how to live and ordering them how to live? What is that balance like?
I think you've got to bring everybody in to the decisions and the
He's not
solutions
gonna answer.
to the challenges that we face. That's why we're traveling everywhere, listening to everyone. We were in Pacific Junction, a town that had never meaningfully flooded before, just up against the Missouri River in Iowa. And every home in that community had flooded.
The models,
There were farms
the
just
climate
outside
models
of
don't
Pacific
predict
Junction
mass
that were
flooding in
effectively
2019. You
Those
can't
farmers
blame
already
this shit on
underwater
your
in
climate
debt.
change.
The
I'm sorry,
markets
you
closed to
can't.
them by a trade war under this administration, and now they don't know what to do. We in our administration are going to fund resiliency in those communities in Miami, in Houston, Texas, those places that are on the front lines of climate change today. We're going to mobilize $5 trillion in this economy over the next 10 years. We're going to free ourselves from a dependence on fossil fuels, and we're going to put farmers and ranchers in the driver's seat, renewable and sustainable agriculture to make sure that we capture more carbon out of the air and keep more of it in the soil, paying farmers for the environmental services that they want to provide. If all of us does all
Carrie,
we
incidentally,
can,
did you
then we're gonna
realize,
be
did
able
you
to keep
read
this
this
planet
a
from
few
warming
weeks ago? There was
2
a
degrees
report
Celsius.
that the
Ensure
Earth is
we
actually more
match
green
what
than
this
it has been
country
in the
can do
past
and live
because
up
of
to our
CO2
promise and
in
our
the air.
potential. 30
There's more
seconds,
plant life
Secretary
now because
Castro.
obviously CO2 is plant food. So the Earth is
Does
actually
who
greening.
pays
There's a greening that's
for
happening, which is
the
great.
I did not read that.
mitigation to climate,
Yeah,
whether it's building
I don't think they'll talk
seawalls,
about it.
For people that are perhaps living in places that they shouldn't be living, is this a federal government issue that needs to do that? Do they have to move these people? What do you do about that where Maybe they're.
Can you shave off
they're
the
building
goatee?
a
It is
house
not
someplace that
1997.
isn't safe. Who pays to build
Jesus
that house?
Christ.
And how much should the
I'm
government
sorry,
pay
this
them?
goatee body.
Whatever you
Well,
do to
I
the
don't
screen
think
to make
that
it darker,
represents
could you
the
do
vast
that?
Oh, it has to
majority of
happen
the
again?
issue. In fact, my first visit after I
Yeah, it
announced
just,
my
like, pops
candidacy
back up. I don't
wasn't to
know why.
Iowa or New Hampshire. It was to San Juan, Puerto Rico. Because people should know that if I'm elected president, everybody will count. And, I'm one of the few candidates in this race with executive experience, with a track record of getting things done. When I was mayor of San Antonio, we moved our local public utility. We began to shift it from coal-fired plants to solar and other renewables, and also created more than 800 jobs
Good.
doing that. And when I was HUD secretary, we worked on the National Disaster Resilience Competition to invest in communities that were trying to rebuild from natural disasters in a sustainable way.
Okay.
That's the way that we're
I don't
gonna help
remember if
make
it was
sure
Africa, good
that
boy.
we're all
It
safer
might have
in the
been.
years to
It
come,
might
and
have
that
been.
we combat climate change. And if I'm elected president, the first thing that I would do, like Senator Klobuchar also has said, is sign an
I
executive
would love a
order
slightly,
recommitting us
honestly,
to the
I would
Paris
love a
Climate
slightly
Accord so
warmer
that
Earth
we
with a little bit more CO2 in the atmosphere. It would have more plants, would be able to, the northern regions would be arable land.
Pricing carbon.
We might lose a
Taxing
little,
carbon in some
a
way.
few
This
spots that
type
are
of
too hot to
proposal
live in,
has been
but
tried in a few
generally I
places,
think it would
whether
be good.
it's Washington State,
We
where
have air
voters
conditioning,
voted
so
it
it's
down.
not
You
that
had
bad.
the yellow vest movement. We had in Australia, one party get rejected out of fear of the cost of climate change sort of being put on the backs of the consumer. If pricing carbon is just politically
Even the
impossible,
French
how do you
revolted.
pay for climate mitigation?
Well, there's a variety of different ways to pay. We talk about different ways of raising.
Oh, I forgot about
revenue.
this guy.
And I think
Everyone
we've
forgets
gotta
about
build
Tim
our way
Ryan.
out of this and grow
He
our way
used
out
to
of this. And
work.
let me just
Oh, you
talk
see the
real
guy who
quick
used to work
to
for the other guy?
previous
No,
question
that's the
about
other. That's
real
tomorrow.
politics.
Man,
We
I
could talk about
can't.
climate. We
I
could talk
can't keep
about
treating
guns. We
these
could talk about all of these
no
issues
names
that we all care
straight in
about.
my head.
We have a perception problem with the Democratic Party. We are not connecting to the working class people in the very states that I represent in Ohio and the industrial Midwest. We've lost all connection. We have got
The
to
ice
change
fishing
the
lobby.
center of gravity of the Democratic Party.
That's what we should start calling the climate change crazy ice fishing lobby. Good boy, I'm sorry. We should totally do that.
From the forgotten communities that have
While you were in the bathroom, we had a conversation about using the word "ma" to make fun of something. People had some witty comebacks.
Solar panels. But if you want to beat
You know what, Spock's mom, I have family actually in the Carolinas, and I've been to Savannah in the summer, and that's a similar climate, the same area, I know Georgia, but it's so oppressively hot. I get it. And it's the humidity is horrible.
We don't address that fundamental problem with our connection to workers, white, black, brown, gay, straight, working class people. None of this is going to get done, Chuck.
Thank you very much.
If you really want to do something about climate change, you stop borrowing money so that you're borrowing money means you're over consuming now. And so consumption is what causes fossil fuel expenditure. So if you really care about climate change, you stop borrowing completely and you adopt austerity measures,
which is
and
put
you
a
stop
price on
spending money.
carbon,
Right.
give a dividend back to
I
the
bet they're not
American
going to
people.
propose that.
It goes out one pocket, back in the other. Thank you,
Blah, blah, blah. I've got policies. I'm a pragmatist. Blah, blah, blah.
With a coalition of every Democrat in the Congress and the Republicans who live in coastal states. Because Republicans in Florida, they actually care about this issue. This has got to be our way forward if we're actually serious about this issue. Congresswoman Gabbard.
We are not.
We're going to move here.
Nice smile. The guy's got a weird smile. Like, I just made a funny joke.
To the LGBTQ community about your past stances and statements on gay rights. After the Trump administration's
Oh, okay. Here's
Can
where
you represent the gay community for us, Kiara?
Why should voters in that community or voters that care
they
about this
like to
issue
accuse her of homophobia because she
Let me
didn't
say
always
that
hold the
there
opinion
is
he
no
does
one
now.
in our government
But
at any
Obama
level
didn't always hold the opinion he
tell
did
any American who they
at
should
the end or now,
be
you know?
allowed to love or who they should be allowed to marry.
Wait, did they use the word homophobia? Can I cross that out?
6 years.
You can cross it out because this is what they're asking. This is why they're asking her that. They keep accusing her of homophobia.
I'm going to say,
Caucus
okay,
and
I'll cross
recently voted for passage of the Equality Act.
Equality Act. Equality Act is a bingo.
Oh, equality. Someone has a bingo?
Equality
You have a bingo?
Act. No, I said that's a square. Equality Act.
Hold today. I've
Oh,
served
equality
with
act. That's different than
LGBTQ
equality?
Service members, both in training
Yeah.
and deployed downrange.
I crossed off equality.
I know
but I
that they would give their life for me and I would give my life for them.
PR is
This
bored. She's
commitment that
working.
I'll carry through as presidents of the United
She's
States.
back. She was tired of Bitcoin after all day, and it took about 20 minutes of Democratic debating for her to be like, "Fuck it, I'm back to
Find a home for their families. It is this kind of
I like to do
discrimination
things that I
we
can
need to
actually
address.
impact.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And I get the whole like throwing thing about the Democratic debate. It's just it's so easy.
Yeah, no, it's super easy. I don't actually like to pay attention to politics. We're just gonna do this.
It's totally fun.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them will
We
win.
do not
No.
talk enough
No.
about trans Americans, especially African American trans Americans, and the incredibly high rate.
Oh, African American trans Americans.
Wait, who said what?
No, I just think he upped it a bit. He's not just talking about trans people. He's talking about African American trans people.
Original co-sponsor. We
Oh, wow.
need to have a president that will fight to protect.
Well, I care about one-armed African American trans people. So
On the issue of civil rights, for decades, on the issue of civil rights and demographics, honestly, and politics, for decades, the Democratic Party has counted on African American voter turnout as step one to winning elections on a national level. Democrats are counting on the Latino community now and in the future in the same way. What have you done for Black and Latino voters that should enthuse them about going to the polls for you if you're your party's nominee?
My life and my career and my work in the Senate has been about economic opportunity. And
what have
to
you done
me,
about them
this
different
means
folk?
Better childcare.
They're different than us white people.
And when you want to have a
You got to do something totally different for the Latinos,
retirement that
blacks.
works. You
What?
need to have public schools that work. And you also need to make sure that
I thought she was going to say, I too have a black son.
those jobs of the future, the STEM jobs. In fact, Donald Trump, one of the first bills that he signed of the 30
Don't tell my
he signed
husband.
where I was the lead. Okay, that's a first up here. Was one that was about that, making sure minority community members could share in those jobs. So to me, this is about a few things. It's about an African-American woman that goes to a hospital in New Orleans, says her hands are swollen, and then doctor ignores her and her baby dies. It's about the fact that African-American—
It's about a man who goes to the
61
hospital and
cents for
says
every
that,
dollar a
doesn't
white
mention
man
that
makes.
he's
So,
pregnant because
in
he's
short,
actually a woman,
we
and then the
need
baby
to
dies.
one, and I will do this in my first 100 days as president. We will work to make sure everyone can vote at this table. Everyone can vote in this country. And we will also go to the next step of criminal justice reform. Senator Booker and I worked on that First Step Act, but we should go to the Second Step Act, which is to help all our communities across.
Senator, thank you very much.
My daughter has made
Secretary
a
Castro,
cartoon for
70%
everyone.
Latino city here in Miami. You are the only
I think it's
Democrat who is
Julian
running
Castro,
this year in the
but actually it could be anyone. It says, I will steal your money and call it taxes, vote for me.
economic
So
justice agenda.
there you
Is
go.
that enough to mobilize
Wait, show it
Latino
again.
voters?
Show it again, because I was laughing in it.
Well,
Yeah,
I also
here's-
think that we
here
have
it
to
is.
recognize racial and social justice. And, I was in Charleston not
There's
too
the
long
guy.
ago, and I remembered that Dylan Roof went
So,
to Mother Emanuel
there's
AME
creative
Church,
work
and he
happening
murdered 9 people who were worshiping, and then he was
live
arrested by
right
Your
the
daughter
FBI.
rocks.
Well, but what
I know.
about Eric Gardner and Tamir
Don't tell her
Rice
though. She's right here.
and
We don't want her
Latonya
head to
Donald
get too big.
and Sandra Bland and Kamala Turner and Antonio Arce? I'm proud that I'm the only candidate so far that has put forward legislation that would reform our policing system in America and make sure that no matter what the color of your skin is, that you're treated the
The
same.
trans indigenous
Oh,
policy
okay.
one-eyed frog. That's the best thing ever. What? Say that?
Carter, he just talked about police and unarmed black men,
Oh, he did. I missed it. I'm sorry.
or police and black men.
The country to submit their questions to the candidates. Let me read one.
Well,
now.
most black men are unarmed, like most people, I assume. So
Who
that
submitted this question? He asked, does the United States have a responsibility to protect in the case of genocide or crimes against humanity? Do we have a responsibility
happened
to
while you were gone.
intervene, to protect people threatened by their governments, even when atrocities do not affect American core interests? I'd like to direct that question to Congressman O'Rourke.
I'm going to not answer.
John, I
your
appreciate the question. The answer is yes, but that
Oh,
action
wow, he
should always
answered.
be undertaken with allies and partners and friends. When the United States presents a united front, we have a much better chance of achieving our foreign policy aims and preventing the kind of genocide to which you refer, the kind of genocide that we saw in Rwanda, the kind of genocide we want to stop going forward.
Wait, why are we talking
But
about genocide? Did I
unfortunately,
miss
under
something?
this administration,
Maj Touré,
President
yeah.
Trump has alienated our allies.
I don't know what they
and
would
our
say if
friends
Maj was
and
on
our
stage here.
alliances. He's
It would
diminished
be
our
awesome.
standing in the world.
Oh my God, he would be great.
I know.
As a country, less able to confront
I would totally
challenges,
love
whether
to
it's
have him on stage.
Iran or North Korea or Vladimir Putin in Russia, who attacked and
Russia.
invaded in 2016.
Russia.
Trump has offered another invitation to do the same. He's embraced strongmen and dictators at the expense of the great democracies. As president, I will make sure that we live our values in our foreign policy.
You guys, I don't mean to brag, but if somebody says no, but if somebody says reparations, I will bingo.
America stronger.
Oh, I think reparations is mostly for tomorrow people, but you know, you never know.
With deep respect to the congressman, look, we've learned painful lessons as Americans that we've gone to war without congressional authorization. And look, this is very personal to me. I know
We've never done that before.
served in the Pacific in World War II.
War without congressional.
The US Army, Battle of
I
Okinawa
hate these
had
people. I
half his
fucking
leg
hate them.
blown off
Yeah,
in
sure. I don't want to go
home
to war
with
without
scars,
congressional
both
authorization.
physical and
Can you
emotional.
not do that too?
He did not
Only
recover. He
complain when
spiraled
Trump
downward,
does
and
it?
he ultimately took his own life. And that battle didn't kill him, but that war did. And look, even in the humanitarian crisis, and I think we should be ready, Congressman.
Maybe
to
he is
intervene.
promising
God
war. I think
forbid
you're
there was a
right.
genocide, but not without congressional approval. Democrats and Republicans, both in the Congress,
War!
have not challenged presidents and have let them
Just
get away
like
with
old-time
going
Democrat.
without
No,
the
wait a minute.
congressional approval. We learned a lesson in Vietnam.
No.
We seem to have forgotten. And the decisions.
This is the problem with Tulsi Gabbard. She thinks Democrats are still the party of like no wars. She's living 30 years ago.
For killing 2 American service members in Afghanistan. Leaders as disparate as President Obama and President Trump.
Yeah, really,
both
genocide's
said
only
that they want
bad
to
if it's
end
not done
US
by the
involvement
left.
in Afghanistan, but it isn't over for America.
The
Why
killing
isn't it
fields,
over?
Khmer
Why
Rouge's killing
can't
fields were
presidents of
just, you
very
know,
different parties and very different
the
temperaments
cost
get us
of
out of
utopia.
there? And how could you?
I appreciate that question. So I've been in Congress 17 years, and 12 of those years I've sat on the Armed Services Committee, either the Defense Appropriations Committee or the Armed Services Committee. And the lesson that I've learned over the years is that you have to stay engaged in these situations. Nobody likes it. It's long, it's tedious. But right now we have, so I would say we must be engaged in this. We must have our State Department engaged. We must have our military engaged to the extent they need to be. But the reality of it is this president doesn't even have people appointed in the State Department to deal with these things, whether we're talking about Central America, whether we're talking about
Well, no
Iran,
one is
whether
better
we're
than
talking
Hillary
about
Clinton. So
Afghanistan. We've got to
I'm
be
going to give him a
completely
plus on
engaged.
that one.
And here's why, because these flare-ups distract us from the real problems in the country. If getting a drone shot down for $130 million because the president is distracted, that's $130 million that we could be spending in places
Wait,
like
what?
Youngstown, Ohio, or
He's
Flint,
complaining about-
Michigan.
Wait, because the president was distracted? Does anyone know what the hell he's talking
I'm going to
about?
give you 30 seconds actually to jump off what he said. He described engagement as the
You
problem.
will tell the parents of those 2 soldiers who were just killed in Afghanistan, well, we just have to be engaged. As a soldier, I will tell you that answer is unacceptable. We have to bring our troops home from Afghanistan. We are in a place in Afghanistan
Yeah, if
where
we
we
could
have
limit
lost
terms
so
to
many lives. We've
0,
spent so much money
That would
that's
be the
coming out
best,
of
good
every
boy.
one of our pockets, money that should be going into communities here at home, meeting the needs of the people here at home. We are no better off in Afghanistan today than we were when this war began. This is why it's so important to have a president and commander in chief who knows the cost of war and who's ready to do the job on day one. I am ready to do that job when I walk into the Oval Office.
Listen, I'm going to go down the line. I'm going to go down the line.
She's also a national socialist. So she's like a socialist who believes in nationalism,
You get 30 seconds.
which I think is a national
I hear what
socialist.
you're saying. I would just say I don't want to be engaged. I wish we were spending all this money in places that I've represented that have been completely forgotten and we were rebuilding. But the reality of it is, if the United States isn't engaged, the Taliban will grow and they will have bigger, bolder terrorist
Yeah, that's a good
acts.
Michael Knowles
We
quote.
have got to have some president
And
there.
true.
The Taliban was there long before we came in. They'll
Yeah,
be
and they
there
were-
long
yeah,
before we
exactly.
leave.
Well,
We
they
cannot
were.
keep U.S.
And they
troops
were
deployed to Afghanistan thinking that we're going to somehow squash this Taliban that has been there,
I
that
didn't
every
say
other country
squash
that's
them. I
tried
didn't
to-
say squash
I
them.
like her.
They started flying planes.
Yeah, because you're a
into our
socialist.
buildings.
I don't know why you like her. She's like the only one. She's good on foreign policy, but
I haven't heard her say anything socialist yet. Has she?
well, read her website.
Okay.
She's literally a national socialist.
The Taliban was protecting those people who were plotting against us. All I'm saying is, if we want to go into elections,
Why are you
and we
letting
wanna
these two
say
people
that we
argue?
gotta
No,
withdraw
like these
from
are
the world,
maybe
that's what
Tulsi's
President Trump
kind of a
is saying.
contender, sort
We
of.
can't. I would love for us to.
Protecting Al Qaeda right now
wanna
in
go down-
Saudi Arabia.
I want to go down the line.
Yeah,
and
the
finish
Cruella
up
de
foreign
Vil thing's
policy.
cool.
It's
I
a
mean,
simple
she wins
question.
on
What is
sexy
our-
votes.
What is the biggest threat to who is the geopolitical threat to the United States? Just give me a one-word answer, Congressman Delaney.
Can you repeat the question?
Greatest geopolitical threat to the United States right now, Congressman Delaney.
Well, the biggest geopolitical challenge
It's
is
not
China.
one word.
The biggest
Can you not
geopolitical
count?
threat remains nuclear weapons.
Okay.
Right. So those are those
I
are
got you.
different questions.
Totally get it. Go ahead, Governor Inslee.
The
It's
biggest
2
threat
words.
to the United States is Donald Trump, and there's no.
Oh,
Yeah, you threw him under the bus.
Greatest geopolitical threat.
The greatest threat that we face is the fact that we are at a greater risk of nuclear war today than ever before in history.
Senator
Two
Klobuchar.
threats: economic.
You're
threat
right.
to China,
You're right. She's
but
living in the
our
70s.
major threat right now is what's going on in the Mideast with Iran. If we don't get
Okay,
our
try to
act
keep it at
together.
one, slimmer than what we've been going here. One or two words.
Our existential threat is climate change. We have to confront it before
Oh.
Wow.
Nuclear proliferation and climate change.
Secretary Castro.
That's not one.
Say, China and climate change.
China and climate change. Everyone hates China.
China,
And I-
without a question, they're
And I would
white
also like to go with
around the
Donald
world
Trump.
economically.
And Mr. Mayor.
Here.
Russia, because they're trying to
Russia!
democracy and they've been
Russia.
Of course, it's Russia. How about Google? That would be maybe my answer. Biggest threat is Google.
Yeah, maybe it's consolidation of power with big tech.
That's what this
Censorship.
debate is about.
Yeah. Actually, sorry, I stand corrected. Artsima, the biggest
Special
geopolitical
Counsel
threat
Robert
is
Mueller's
government.
report
That's a,
outlines multiple instances
stand
of potential criminal behavior by President Trump. House Speaker Pelosi has publicly and privately resisted any move toward impeachment in the House. If the House chooses not to impeach, as president, would you do anything to address the potential crimes that were outlined in Mr. Mueller's report?
Yes, and I'll tell you why.
How, by the way, if the answer is yes?
One of the most powerful pieces of art in the United States Capitol is the Trumbull painting of General George Washington resigning his commission to the Continental Congress at the height of his power, submitting to the rule of law and the will of people. That has withstood the test of time for the last 243 years. If we set another precedent now, that a candidate who invited the participation of a foreign power, a president who sought to obstruct the investigation into the invasion of our democracy, if we allow him to get away with this, then we'll have set a new standard, and that is because of the position of power and public trust that they hold are above the law, and we cannot allow that to stand. So we must begin impeachment now.
impeachment. He said impeachment. Someone has to have bingo. You have bingo, Carrie?
No, not yet. Oh, wait, I have bingo.
Come on.
Oh, wait, I have bingo. You guys, I have bingo.
You have bingo?
Yeah, okay. Racism,
It's
homophobia.
not fair that one of us wins, but okay. What are your bingos?
Racism, homophobia, women's right to choose, impeach, and transphobia.
He said there was transphobia. I missed that one.
Nah, I'm kind of cheating there. They talked about transphobia.
You cheated on transphobia.
No, but
Come
they're talking
on.
about transphobia. Come,
Pelosi is saying that impeachment will not be pursued in the House. It raises the prospect, and the Mueller report raises the prospect that President Trump could be prosecuted for some of those potential crimes down the line. No U.S. president has ever been prosecuted for crimes after leaving office. Do you believe that President Trump could or should be the first?
I guess there's always a first.
Should he be?
I don't think anyone's above the law. I don't think anyone is above the law, including a president. I support Speaker Pelosi's decisions that she's
they won't
making
ask
in the House of Representatives right now as Speaker. I think she knows more about the decision as to whether to impeach the president than any of the 2020 candidates combined.
Conceded.
So,
On the
but
issue of
I do think no one's above the law, and this president, who is lawless, should not be above the law. But I will tell you, Rachel, the one thing when you're out doing as much campaigning as I've done,
Herman, do you think that denying that point to her makes me transphobic? Probably
this
somehow.
is not the number one issue the American people ask us about. It's not. They want to know what we're going to do for healthcare, how we're going to lower pharmaceutical prices.
They're still
how we're
the
gonna
second
build
place.
infrastructure, what we're going to do to create jobs in their communities. You know, last year in our country, 80% of the money for startup businesses went to 50 counties in this country. There's over 3,000 counties in this country.
Yeah, because startups move here, and this is.
They care about what's going on in the public schools.
You know what? This is what Colin Wright talks about. people present the problem and they pick a univariate answer to the problem and just like hammer it home. Like this is the one answer. This is the one answer. What a stupid pseudo-intellectual midwit thing to do. Yeah, right, Andrew. He's lawless. What law did he break?
We let the Republicans run our election. And if we do not do something about Russian interference in the election, and we let Mitch
Oh my gosh. Russian interference, but they don't,
Nice broke umbrella.
but they don't have anything to say about Google's interference. Nothing. Nothing about Facebook's interference.
Well, because it's not true. Because it's not been in any. It's not been any legitimate news outlets, Gary.
Broken Umbrella says, I'm trans, Carrie. I grant you the privilege to check that off.
Right.
Thank
yeah.
you.
No, I saw that. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. You get. You know what? But I identify this moment as trans, and I do not grant you the privilege. I'm two-spirit, empty room.
I would argue you're not a
Whatever.
transgender. You're transtrender. There's a difference.
I'm a transtrender.
Yes.
I'm definitely not pop like trendy, whatever. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we're close to the end, right? We got 15 minutes. Is that what we got going on? This shouldn't be bad. 15 more minutes of this crap. Then we have 10. Tomorrow will be more fun because we got Bernie. We got Kamala Harris, who I actually think might be the nominee at the end of the day. We've got Joe Biden, Creepy Joe. So tomorrow will be good. No mention about the Brits and the Steele dossier. Good point. Good point. I'm surprised Maddow didn't go more Russia. And I'm disappointed at the lack of.
Carter, don't.
What-
There's a turkey behind you.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Oh.
It just looked like he was creeping up on you. Sorry.
Does the brightness get brighter over time on this TV? Let's see. No, it's still at 0. It must just totally pop up once in a while. But the Turkey 2020, actually, that's not a bad choice. This is what it's like. What I was saying. I don't want to get things done. I vote for gridlock. Gridlock is the best because they won't make things worse. Ask yourself this: when has the government made things better in recent history?
But they should. I disagree with you about the gridlock. I don't think we need to have gridlock.
Unless the thing they're going to do is repealing laws, which it never is. No one says I'm going to go repeal blah 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 blah. Like they just, I guess the one guy said he was going to repeal something or other, but it wasn't important. All right. Oh yeah, look at that tomorrow. See, tomorrow's gonna be fun. Look at those people. Oh, and Yang's gonna be awesome tomorrow. I hope he just throws dollars out. He should just get on stage and chuck money out to everyone.
You know who else is tomorrow? Is what's her name?
Andrew.
Williams, the guru, the spiritual guru.
Oh yeah, she's on tomorrow. I know Oprah. Some spiritual things.
Night 2 of the Democratic debate as 10 more candidates battle it out tomorrow at 9 Eastern on NBC, MSNBC.
I know. I can't believe I didn't know New York Times had money to run ads. Broken umbrella. The last ditch effort to get someone to read. I like the idea of having where you can't pass a law unless you repeal another one, which I think Trump is actually doing right now. So there's a good thing.
We could go on. Together, we are on a mission. We're on a mission to find the America that's been lost through infighting, lost through inaction. We're so much better than this. We're a country that used to do things. We saved the world. We created the American dream for millions of people like myself, the grandson of immigrants, the son of a union electrician who went on to become a successful business leader and create thousands of jobs.
Artima in the chat was joking earlier about they should just start shouting out identities like I'm a fireman, I'm an immigrant.
I'm running for president to solve these problems, to build infrastructure, to fix our broken healthcare system, to invest in communities.
Oh, thank you, Andrew. With
behind,
regulations,
to
yes,
improve
not law.
public education.
But it should be done with law.
I just don't want to be your president to be your
Congressman, your
president.
45
I
seconds
want
is
to
over.
be your president to do the job.
Thank
this
you,
is
sir.
not about me. This is about getting
True.
America working again.
Thank you.
Not about me.
Mayor,
De Blasio, here we go. I'm married to a black
It
woman.
matters. It matters in this fight for the heart and soul of our party that we nominate a candidate who has seen the face of poverty and didn't just talk about it, but gave people $15 minimum wage. It matters that we nominate
So
a
he's
candidate
pro-automation.
who saw the destruction wrought by a broken healthcare system.
Firing up the
and gave
robots.
people universal healthcare.
God,
It
you people are
matters
so
that
dumb.
we choose someone
So
who saw
dumb.
the wasted potential of our children denied pre-K and gave it to every
My
single
daughter
one of
over
them
here.
for free. These things really
She
matter.
knows
And these are the things that
that
I've
robots
done
are just
in
gonna
New York,
like.
and I want to do the same for this whole country. Because putting working people first, it matters. We need to be that party again. Let's work together. With your help, we can put working people first again in America.
Thank you, Mayor de Blasio. Right on time.
Governor Inslee, 45 seconds.
Oh yeah.
Grandchildren, we love them all. And when I was thinking about whether to run for president, I made a decision. I decided
so.
that on my last day on earth,
This is the kind of guy who would look better with a cigar.
and tell him I did everything human.
Like he just looks
No,
like
he's all about
to
the
protect
climate.
them from the ravages of the climate crisis.
See, he's all about the climate.
And I
crisis.
know to a
yeah,
moral
but he should.
if
He's
we
got
do
a he's
not-
got a masculine look at least.
who commits to this as the top priority, it won't get done. And I am the only candidate, frankly, I'm surprised. I'm the only candidate who's made this commitment to make it the top priority. If you join me in that recognition of how important this is, we can have a unified national mission.
Just go move
We can
to
save ourselves.
be
We
Amish.
can
if
save
that's
our
what you want.
children. We can save our grandchildren. And we can save literally the life on this planet. This is our moment.
Governor, thank you.
Congressman Ryan.
Limo dem.
Oh,
Yeah, he's like Al Gore with his driving around his limo.
Worse.
his
talking about
smile
the
at the end was very weird.
Nothing worse than not being
Yeah.
seen. And I know that
My
because
name
I've
is Tim.
represented for 17 years in Congress, a forgotten community. They've tried to divide us: who's
He
white,
relates
who's
to
black,
forgotten
who's
communities, I
gay,
guess.
who's straight, who's a man, who's a woman.
No one wants
And they
anything
ran
constitutional.
away with all the gold because they divided the working class. It's time for us to come together. I don't know how you feel, but I'm ready to play some offense. I come from the middle of industrial America, but these problems are all over our country. There's a tent city in LA. There's homeless people and people
Oh,
around our country who can't afford a home. It's time for us to get back on
Boy,
track.
why don't you just join the video
The
chat
teacher in
tomorrow?
Texas, the nurse in New Hampshire, the waitress in Wisconsin, all of us coming together, playing offense with an agenda that lifts everybody up. I will only promise you one thing. When I walk into that Oval Office every morning,
Yeah, they all have
you
creepy
will
smiles.
not be
But you haven't
forgotten.
seen Joe Biden.
Your
You ain't seen
voice
nothing yet.
will be heard. Thank you.
Congressman Gabbard, you have 45 seconds for your closing.
All right, Gavin, here we go.
Our nation was founded on the principles of service above self. People who fled kings who literally prospered on the backs and the sacrifices of people. Coming here to this country, instead putting in place a government that is of, by, and for the people. But that's not what we have. Instead, we have a government that is of, by, and for the rich and powerful. This must end. As president,
not wrong.
our White House,
She's just wrong
our
about how
White
to end it.
House will be a beacon of light, providing hope and opportunity, ushering in a new century where every single person will be able to get the health care they need, where we will have clean air to breathe and clean water to drink, where we will have good paying jobs in a new green economy. Join me in ushering in this new century with peace, prosperity, opportunity, and justice for all. Congresswoman, thank you.
Wow, she's Superman, Supergirl, Superwoman,
Me llamo Julián
Super
Castro
Zer.
y estoy postulando por
Okay.
los Estados Unidos. The very fact that I can say that tonight shows the progress that we have made in this country.
In
Like
Spanish
many of
101.
you, I know
I'm
the
just
promise of
picking
America.
some random language. You know, I speak Swahili. What if I were just to because
And just
this is
two
gonna
generations
work for the Swahili contingent.
serving the United States Congress.
Well, they don't
the
care
only
about
other
the
one is
Swahili.
running for president of the United States.
If I'm elected president, I will work hard every single day so that you and your family can get good health care, your child can get a good education, and that you can have good job opportunities, whether you live in a big city or a small town. And on January 20th, 2021, we'll say adios to Donald Trump.
Oh, that clip's going to be used in memes in the future.
Yeah, probably. Especially on January 21st.
First, I listen to people, and that's how I get things done. That is my focus. I have a track record of passing over 100 bills where I'm the lead Democrat, and that is because I listened and I acted. And I think that's important in a president.
Earlier in the
really
chat,
looks like she's about to break up and cry.
Secondly, I'm someone that can win and beat Donald Trump. I have won.
earlier in the chat, I think it was Good Boy said that she looks like the kind of woman who leaves notes on cars.
Won by over 20 points. I can win in states like Wisconsin and Iowa and in Michigan. And finally, yeah, I am not the establishment party candidate. I've got respect, but I'm not that person. I am the one that doesn't have a political machine that doesn't come from money. And I don't make all the promises that everyone up here makes, but I can promise you this. I am going to govern with integrity. I'm going to govern for you.
Thank you, Senator.
Oh my God. You're right. His eyes are kind of bluish. Whoever called that bluish grayish, he's not 100% black.
It was activists, mostly white activists, that stood up and fought for that.
Good point.
That's the best of who we are as America. And why, when I got out of law school, I moved into the inner city of Newark to fight as a tenant lawyer for other people's rights. I've taken on bullies and beat them. I've taken on tough fights and we've won. And we win those fights, not by showing the worst of who we are, but rising to who's best. Donald Trump wants us to fight him on his turf and his terms. We will beat him. I will beat him by calling this country to a sense of common purpose again. This is a referendum on him and getting rid of him, but it's also
He's such a tool.
On us.
He's like the black swallow.
Be to each other. It's time we win this election. And the way I'll govern is by showing the best of who we are, because that's what this country needs and deserves. Thank you.
Congressman O'Rourke?
45 seconds.
Our daughter Molly turned 11 this week. I'm on this stage for her, for children across this country, including some her same age who've been separated from their parents and are sleeping on concrete floors under aluminum blankets tonight. We're going to be there for them.
He looks like
we're going to confront the challenges that we face.
He looks like a dumb elf.
We can't return to the same old approach. We're going to need a new kind of politics, one directed by the urgency of the next generation.
Sorry.
Those climate activists who are fighting not just for their future.
I prefer not to look at his face, so you know.
Not just for their lives, but for all of ours.
No one said anything. My daughter did.
Like the one that we led in Texas, it renewed our democracy by bringing everyone in and writing nobody off. That's how we beat Donald Trump. That's how we bring this great country together again. Join us. This is our moment.
Says the man who didn't beat Ted Cruz.
I know. Spartacus.
You have 45 seconds for the final statement of the evening. Thank you. It's a great honor to be here. Never in a million years did I think I would stand on a stage like this. I was born and
If the
raised in
creatures from
Oklahoma.
Aliens wanted to mate with someone, it would be Elizabeth Warren.
I had a dream growing up, and my dream was to be a public school teacher. By the time I graduated,
Can you imagine her being your public school teacher?
My family didn't have the money for a college application, much less a chance for me to go to college. But I got my chance. It was a $50 a semester commuter college. That was
It's only available to American Indians.
That created some opportunity for a girl.
Native Americans.
And it opened my life. I am in this fight because I believe that we can make our government, we can make our economy, we can make our country work, not just for those at the top. We can make
Because they love global. These are all globalists. Spock's mom. They're all globalists. They don't.
fight for my own family.
They like pay lip service to America in the sense that they know a lot of American voters care about America, but they're globalists. All of them.
Tonight, and that will do it for night one of this.
Mr. XMI says, I was born and raised a poor black child.
On the reservation. Well, she's off the reservation now.
Sure. I told people I was the first woman of color.
Andrew, I'm sorry for your childhood. Oh my God. We have to do this again tomorrow night. At least Bernie. I love Bernie. He's so horrible.
Hey, I voted for Bernie.
Yeah, I know. You have a lot of.
PM on the East Coast. We are back with you.
I used to actually really like him a lot. I think he's become a little more SJW.
He's always been a democratic socialist, Carrie.
Yeah, but he's an outsider.
And he's never had a job. He's never had a job.
What line you said earlier, Dad, that was funny. It's like, I love Bernie. He's so horrible.
He's horrible. Yeah. Yeah. He's fun to watch. Because he's just like a crazy, he's like an old Gilbert Gottfried he knows about as much about math as Gilbert probably does. Gilbert probably knows more. That's not fair.
But he seems sincere to me.
Yeah, but that's, again, you have this weird, like, he's sincere. I mean, Stalin was sincere. What the hell does that mean? Like, who cares? He's fucking sincere. I don't get it. It's just a weird quality to care about. He's sincerely evil. All right.
No,
good Bernie. I mean, whatever.
Well, that was fun. We are going to do this again tomorrow, guys. Maybe we'll it'll be more fun tomorrow, I promise, because of Bernie and Creepy Joe and Kamala Harris and who else is on tomorrow? Oh, Swalwell. He's the worst,
dude. And the crazy and your crazy spiritual Oprah friend lady.
Oprah's friend.
Great tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Aw. I like your drawing.
You can be here tomorrow if you want to watch it tomorrow. That's fine. You don't have to watch it, but you can. Anyway, he is like this century's Karl Marx, but he's not even as smart as Karl Marx, because at least, I don't know, Marx started a movement, evil, but I don't know. Bernie's just like, he's just going to be forgotten as the guy who... Bernie's like the Ron Paul of socialists. Like, I love Ron Paul. He was never going to go anywhere ever and do any, like, great, but he was never going to get elected. Bernie's like the Ron Paul of the Marxists. So, all right, well, Carrie, anything else that we need to say?
I was going to say, do you want to end with a special treat? My friend is going to do his horrible Trump impression for you and give you a little Trump.
Oh, yeah. You have your friend there?
Yeah.
Yeah, do a Trump impression, dude.
Okay, so easy on the eyes, Tulsi Gabbard. She's an 8.5 perhaps. So hot, I might even vote for her. She's so hot, she's causing climate change. Charisma-free Robert Francis O'Rourke, not a fan. He should offer up his house to the refugees. Pocahontas is such a nasty, nasty woman. Such a nasty woman. Castro, we probably shouldn't elect anyone named Castro. There's bad history there. Bad people. I'm saying bad people. Overly concerned face, Cory Booker, not a fan. Does he have a black?
Not a fan.
Little person, Klobuchar. I can't understand her. The accent. I need subtitles. Blah, 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 de Blasio. Ruin New York City. I want to buy it and evict him. All the other candidates, it's like the Gilligan's Island theme song and the rest. I've never seen any of them before in my life.
Thank you, guys. This is Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, boss. Snaps, Carrie. We snap.
Yeah. Don't
to Chris.
Don't beat his ego either. I usually make fun of his accents.
It wasn't bad. It was a pretty good Trump impression, Chris. I think you should keep it up. So, all right. Well, on that note, Carrie, I think we can end it now, rightfully, legitimately. We can be done, right?
Let's do it. We've heard from Trump.
All right.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll see you for Daily Covfefe tomorrow, as always. Later.